Okay. I'd like to call the January 25th meeting to order.
All righty. Let me just do my remote meeting blurb, and then we can do roll call. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting of the North Andover Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote means in accordance with applicable law. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.northandoverma.gov. For this meeting, in-person attendance, for this meeting, applicants, their representatives, and members of the public commission will be permitted. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting live may do so on their televisions by tuning into NorthCAM Ed, Comcast Channel 99 or Verizon Channel 28, or online at www.northandovercam.org. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite our best efforts, we will post on the North Andover Town website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. If the public would like to participate in the hearings, please email your question or comment prior to or during the meeting to amaxnet@northandoverma.gov. The question or comment will be read during the proceedings and responded to accordingly. That's it.
All right. So next we will do the pledge of allegiance. The approval of minutes for July 27th, October 12th, and November 16th. We need a motion.
Yes, this is Jack. I've reviewed the meeting minutes for October 12th, 2022, and November 16th, 2022. And I move that we approve those minutes as drafted with no modifications.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimous.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm out of practice with this Zoom meeting or whatever this is. We have to introduce the commissioners. We have Ryan, and then we have Jack, and then we have Joe, and then we have Al, and then we have Lou, and then we have the next one. Joe, I'm sorry, Joe, Sean, and Tony. Something.
And we have a full house.
We have a full house. We haven't had that one in a long time.
I know it.
Which is good. Which we're all together, but unfortunately we can't. All right, connect the first
Does anyone, did we do the July 27th, 2022
Yes.
minute?
Yes. I listed them all.
Did anyone move the 27th, though, of July?
Yes. Yeah, I did all three, maybe.
I'm not sure I heard July 27th moved, Lou.
Okay. Well, I did mean, I said July 27th, October 12th, and November 16th.
So for the July 27th, Ryan Hale, Lou Napoli, Al Manzi, and Tony Capicetti were present at that meeting. So if one of you guys could move, we'd get those approved. Okay, that's Tony. Ryan, sorry.
I'll second it.
Second.
Okay, Al second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, next. Okay, now that's unanimous.
All right, good.
All right. First order one is NACC number 356 Great Pond Road. And like I said, we'll go on Amy's narrative, and then we'll make the commission speak if they want to.
Yeah. All righty. So this is a small project permit for 56 Great Pond Road. The proposal is to replace in kind an outdated deck that is no longer in safe condition. The deck is approximately 42 feet by 12 feet, and it has an associated staircase and ramp. The deck will be supported by 6x6 posts and helical piles instead of concrete footings, which will result in minimal ground disturbance. The existing footings will be left in place to avoid, ground disturbance. Work at its closest point will be 62 feet from the bordering vegetated wetland associated with an intermittent stream based on conservation staff's field measurements. The contractor is proposing to install straw wattles around the front of the deck between the deck and the BBW. So we would recommend approving this project under category B, which is in-kind replacement of lofted existing decks regardless of size, with the following conditions requiring a pre-construction meeting and reviewing the installed erosion controls. And the dumpster and the construction materials to be kept in the paved driveway, which is outside of the buffer, and then a post-construction inspection with the Conservation Department to verify compliance. The contractor is on the call with us if you guys have questions.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Ryan, you have any questions?
Just to confirm, will access be from the Stevens Street side of the house? I guess the left side of the house is shown on the figure.
Yes, that's the
Okay.
driveway side. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, as long as that occurs and there's appropriate erosion sediment controls, I have no other concerns or questions.
Okay.
Okay. Jack?
I have no questions, Lou.
Al?
No questions.
I have no questions. Joe?
No questions.
Sean?
No questions.
Tony?
No questions.
Okay, we need a motion.
Motion. Al Manzi.
Second, Ryan Hale.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous.
All righty.
Thank you.
All right.
Next one is, what's that?
Thank you.
Okay. Next one is 242-1812, a modification, 42 Huckleberry Lane.
All righty. So the order that was issued in June of 2021 governs the construction of an in-ground pool, associated grading, retaining wall, riprap slope, patio stairs, fencing, and pool equipment. All work is with the 100-foot buffer zone to BBW, but outside the 50, and was within existing turf lawn. Construction access was proposed over the southern side of the house over a neighboring property. Construction is underway, and the following modifications are proposed. The pool has been constructed closer to the house, which eliminated the need for a Versalock block retaining wall around the patio. They are now proposing to extend the existing riprap slope and create a resulting slope of 3-to-1 to 5-to-1. Some minor grading will take place off the edge of the patio at the northwest corner. The chair wasn't comfortable approving this administratively and wanted the commission's review on this. The site is at a standstill right now, waiting for this review, and has remained in compliance thus far.
All set?
And Steve Stepinski, the project engineer, is on the line with me.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Ryan, you have any questions?
So this is basically just replacing a retaining wall with a riprap slope with no increase in disturbance to resource areas or buffer zone or anything?
That's correct.
Okay. I have no questions or comments.
All right, Jack?
Does this modification require any additional waivers compared to the original project?
No.
No. Okay, I have no more questions.
Amy, is that true?
Let me triple check that. I don't think so. I think it's
It's not that I don't trust the applicant, but it's better to hear from the administration about waivers.
kind of looked that way to me, Lou. I just wanted to make sure. I think the closest setback was still 51 feet.
Okay, all right, so we're good. All right, Al,
No questions.
Joe?
I have the same line of questioning, but it sounds like they've been satisfied.
Okay, Sean?
No questions.
Tony?
No questions.
Motion?
I move that we approve the modification for 242-1812-42 Huckleberry Lane.
We have a
Second.
second? All those in favor? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Aye.
and it's unanimous. Thank you. Al, do you want me to open it, or you want to do it yourself, the next one?
Are you still recusing from this, Lou?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
All right, Lou, why don't you open and recuse on the record?
Okay. 242-1787, 135 North Grant Road.
Thanks, Steve.
And I, as the chairman, are going to recuse myself and turn the gavel over to Mr. Manzi.
I acknowledge, Lou, thank you. Amy, why don't you bring us up to date on the project? Have all the commissioners received your draft OOC?
I have sent it to everyone.
Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah, I reviewed it.
Okay, all right. I haven't had a chance to read through it yet, but I'll attempt to do that while Amy is bringing us up to date on the project.
Alrighty, so I'll just do a recap. The commission recalled that this project, pursuant to a notice of noncompliance from DEP, is proposing to stabilize steep slopes consisting of mixed processed aggregate glass material and manage stormwater on the site. The commission engaged GEI for a third-party peer review LSP services and required that borings be performed to identify the nature of the material and test groundwater for any resulting contamination. It was found that the material was PGA at approximate depths of 20 feet, and 3 rounds of groundwater testing found below reportable readings of contaminants. After borings and groundwater testing was reviewed, the commission asked for a final draft plan to be submitted that the airport and the applicant were in agreement over. The commission then engaged a third-party stormwater review with Linden Engineering. Linden provided 3 rounds of comments, to which Hancock eventually responded with satisfaction on all points raised, and all those reports and comment letters have been provided to the commission. And so that was sort of the last hurdle that we had to get through for reviewing all of the, activities on site and making sure that the commission has done its due diligence. The applicant and their engineer are on the call with us this evening, and if you have any questions for them or me, otherwise I think we're ready to close, and I have prepared a draft order.
All right. Why don't we go through the roster? I can't remember.
Yeah, the owner's on the call too.
Okay, so
airport manager.
So I'm gonna go to the commissioners first, if you don't mind. And have the
First one's Ryan now.
Yeah, Amy,
Ryan.
am I right that I have to, I'm not eligible to vote on this order? Is that
Right,
correct?
you missed
Okay,
tonight's hearing.
so I'm going to refrain from making questions or comments on.
Okay, who's after Ryan?
Jack.
Jack,
Yeah.
Mayday.
Hi, Al.
You're up there, buddy.
Hi, Al. We did a lot of work on this project, as everyone knows. We anticipated a worse type condition. We did a lot of testing. Well, the applicant did a lot of testing for us. It's been under quite a bit of review. I think we've satisfied all of our major concerns to my memory. I know there were some field observations that were the last things that were still outstanding. I assume that those have been resolved. My only real comment on this is I recall when this was up for discussion, the last time we had a hearing, and I don't recall a date, but it was mentioned that the groundwater quality monitoring wells would continue to operate for I think it was 2 years, after the order of conditions is after it's closed. So I just want to remind the commission that we did decide that. It was accepted by the applicant, and that should be an ongoing condition in the order of conditions that we may be discussing later on in this meeting. So that's all I have, Al.
Okay, we'll want to make sure that that's in the order of conditions. I'm not gonna ask any questions just yet. I'm gonna go through the whole commission here. So after Jack is who?
Joe.
Joe Lynch.
Yeah, I actually have the same overall synopsis as Jack, is that it's the continuing and ongoing conditions that we want to make sure get in there, and that is the preservation of the monitoring wells, for future use, for some extended period of time, and that they be used for a couple of years beyond the order conditions, and then more so the extent of the wrap roadway driveway networks on the upper ground, and making sure that those materials are properly compacted and managed and prevent siltation into that detention pond. Those are the things we want to hone in on, for continuing ongoing conditions. But I think the robust review that we did has been satisfied, as long as we get those things into the final decision.
Agreed. All right, agreed. Who's next now? Sean?
Sean.
Hey, Al, I do not have anything addition to add.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Anthony?
Oh,
I'm not an eligible member on this one.
All right, so then I'll close it up by making some observations. I've been on site 3 times. Each time I've been there, what's most noteworthy to me is the fact that the half of the site is going to remain open and in business. There's going to be continuous and ongoing truck traffic on the upper level, where the last time we were there, we had basically everybody there for the last site visit, and we were following and noting the truck route, and there were requests made to change the location of the fence, which was going to be the barrier for the no-go zone, the no-disturb zone, because the trucks needed more room to turn, and there was a small body of water to the left of that. I don't remember how that ended up being dealt with. Amy, can you refresh my memory on that? You were there with me. We were looking at that small puddle.
So that's it's actually a stormwater basin that's going to be rehabbed.
All right, and that's reflected in the order of conditions, the reconditioning of that stormwater basin.
Yes.
And with regard to the fence, there was lots of discussion about how much room, where the fence should be, and should it be moved 2 feet this way or that way. The purpose, the spirit and intent of the fence is to absolutely positively protect the no-go zone, the no disturbance zone, in perpetuity. There'll be no conversion, removal, excavation, or anything in that no disturbance zone. I think that's a huge key element to this. Do you have, as part of the order of conditions, a final location on the fence?
Well, what I said in the order is that the prior to construction, that the fence location be staked by survey, and that the stakes remain throughout the project, and if they get moved or anything, then they have to be resurveyed and restaked.
Okay, and they're reflected on the record plan, the record drawing.
The chain link fence is, yes.
Okay, because I know you can probably envision what I'm referring to. We had berms on the right as you enter, a truck route that took a left-hand turn, chain link fencing. There was all kinds of different things that were taking place that were meant to be controls. I guess what I'm hopping on is that should be reflected so that those don't move, and those don't move in the future. They're not going to be subject to a modification or an amendment or
Mhm.
anything. They're not going anywhere. You know, I know that people's memories fade over time, so the record has to be clear.
Right.
Do you can you think of anything else that is in or should be added to the order of conditions to guarantee these decisions?
So I think signage on the fence indicating, the, that, it's a no-go zone. I mean, they're gonna have to get in there to do vegetation management. They want to keep that as a meadow.
Right.
And do any kind of maintenance on the subsurface infiltration gallery as well.
Okay.
So that's the only activities I envision.
Okay.
The other thing is, I remember the commission talking about perhaps some sort of a deed restriction for the peninsula. So I just
I-
added that as a condition to discuss. But other than that, I mean, and so signage on the fence, deed restriction. Locking it, obviously.
Yeah.
I think
There
there's
was
one thing beyond that, Amy, that we should probably consider. That is, subject to the, collection of materials to that infiltration pond,
Yes,
gonna be the rehabilitated pond. We probably want to get an annual O&M report of, what occurred, what was
Yes.
cleaned out, what needs to be cleaned out, and get that on record every year, because that is really the essence of how this whole site infiltrates through that glass media. So we
right.
want to make sure that that's done and maintained at the surface first before it gets down into deep strata where it becomes a problem. So I think an annual report is very important.
Yes, I have that.
Thank you.
And I also have a requirement that that provides, before anything starts on rehabbing that basin, that dewatering of it and testing of the extracted materials from it. I think that was something that Linden Engineering suggested. So I have that as language as well.
That's a good precaution, because we don't know what's gotten down into there
Right.
as we've been hearing about this. Yeah.
What about monitoring, Amy?
So I did add a condition about the monitoring wells, and then yearly O&M for all the stormwater management features on site.
Were you was there talk about the applicant? Does the applicant have an LSP on site right now?
Well, I added that as part of the condition to have an LSP on board for all of the.
Okay. I think that it might be a good idea that prior to them engaging an LSP, that we be allowed to learn who the candidate is, and we should be able to accept or reject any person for monitoring or LSP based on past experience.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think we should be able to approve.
Go ahead.
I just want us to have the final right of approval. That was just an idea I had.
Yeah, I understand the principle. I think first is part of the annual monitoring that the LSP from year to year be reported within that annual report, so we know who it is, and that we also then have the ability to. But this is where it gets a little dicey, because we're gonna have that's to be a perpetual and ongoing condition, probably.
Yeah.
So I guess we could extend our review and approval of that party, for years in the future. The question becomes is, so what if we don't agree with or don't approve of the party? What mechanisms do we use to make sure that actually happens, so we get the right people in there?
Well, I think based on our experience with various wetland monitors over the years and various LSPs over the years, I think we have the absolute right to give final approval to who the person is that's on site doing the work on our behalf. And I think if if they're either unable or unwilling to comply, then that's a violation of that particular condition.
Yeah,
And,
unable to comply in our ability to review, I guess it's kind of abstract to me. I mean, I certainly understand the purpose of it, but, do we need to establish what criteria it is we use for that review process and approval process? Because it seems kind of like esoteric and just hanging out there. I'm just,
what's the process?
Stave off a future fight. Now, maybe we could just simply say, must be reviewed and approved. And if we don't approve, we simply call them in and go through some process at that point as an amendment to the order of conditions. Maybe that's the way it gets done.
Possibly. I'm just the same process we use now to pre-approve a wetland monitor. We have the ability, and we use it to pre-approve who does the wetland monitoring for certain projects in town, and if there are certain monitors that are not acceptable, and we don't want to have an unacceptable monitor on site, whether that monitor be a wetland person or whether that monitor be an LSP. I think we've had sufficient exposure to both kinds of experts, and some are very acceptable and some are just not. So I think we have to preserve our rights to be able to do something there. I'm open to suggestions.
Yeah.
Perhaps we
maybe.
could, I'm just have an idea. Perhaps we could get like a baseline criteria for experience from our third-party LSP at GEI in terms of what to go by, or what their curriculum vitae should consist of.
So a pre-qualification sheet, and then the ability to not accept if we don't feel that a particular person is acceptable.
Yeah, some sort of criteria that is from a source that we trust.
I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not going to identify any projects or names here. I'm just going to say we've had enough experience with enough different personalities to know that there are some folks that are just not acceptable, and I just don't want to end up with one of those.
No, I get it.
Okay, so there has to be a way to make a condition that addresses that,
Right.
or add language to a condition that addresses that. If you just want to think about it a little bit.
Yep.
So Al, you're floating that out there right now. The reality is, we have to drill that right down when we actually deliberate the order of conditions.
Fair enough.
I think for fear, the issue is a legitimate one. How it is we ultimately do it is kind of the next order of business after this closes.
I accept that absolutely. That's an excellent point. Thank you. Anybody else have any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I do actually, Al. This is Jack. Can we get back to the fence?
Yes.
I was, while you guys were talking about that verbiage, I was doing a one last pass on the revised plan, and I saw on the legend that there was a fence indicated, on the proposed layout, but I didn't see those symbols indicated. It's a dash, an X, a dash, an X. I didn't see that indicated. I did see the silt fence, the proposed silt fence, and the proposed silt fence was called out, in a field note, and it was identified on the legend. But I'm not seeing any permanent fence identified on the revised plan, and I think that was the intent of this revised plan, if I'm not mistaken.
That's my memory as well. It's one of the reasons why I brought it up.
Okay,
I don't know if it's appropriate.
I don't
Okay.
know. So I guess my question is a permanent fence proposed on that top flat area in the revised plan?
And I can't answer that. Amy, do you
Is the
have that?
applicant able to?
Well, let's see if, hold on, before we go to the applicant, Amy, is that indicated on the record drawing at all?
The chain link fence?
Yeah, that Jack's talking about.
I'm looking, hold on.
Okay.
Yes, so the top part is pointing to an existing chain link fence that is light gray with circles. And then just past the corner of the infiltration gallery, it turns into a dark line with squares, and it says proposed chain link fence. So it connects to the existing. Do you see that, Jack?
No, I don't. Okay, proposed 5-foot CLF with service gate,
Right.
but I'm not seeing it going out on the peninsula.
No, it shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
It
It
should
shouldn't.
just hook. It should just hook around with the roadway, Jack. It should be right on the right hand side of the truck access road.
Yeah, Al, that's what I'm remembering too. Earlier iterations, when they wanted to leave that peninsula for future consideration, there was a talk about putting the fence out that way. But the reality is, as this thing evolved, the airport, the owner, and us, we all agreed that that's going to be grass loomed over and nothing done with it. So the chain link fence is to just preserve the entire peninsula without any future access.
Yep.
But I do have, the service gate is only for access of the infiltration gallery, for no other purpose, if you will.
Okay,
so
I see that, and
Yeah,
I
but they don't
just
use
remember.
the service gate for any other purpose.
I remembered it differently, and thank you for the correction. It looks fine to me now.
Okay.
And mowing.
I mean, this thing's been like 18 months on the ongoing, so that's definitely an earlier iteration, Jack, when we wanted the whole perimeter protected.
Well, we actually talked about this at the last site visit, Joe. When we were standing like right between that small stormwater pond and the trucks come around, and then there's a fence on the right hand side. There's a fence there now, and we were just trying to discuss how that fence linked up with the perimeter fence that was coming along from the right hand side of the berm, just to prevent access out there. We wanted to have a barrier, and that was that's the section. It's a small section.
And that's the fence. That's what's shown on this current plan, is exactly that.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
If that's there, then I'm good.
I'm good as well.
All right, who's left up there for questions? Anybody? I don't hear anybody. Any representatives?
Somebody mentioned about a deed restriction. Now, we know the airport continues to be the land owner here. They were very much, the airport commission and the manager were very much a part of these hearings. I know we have a new manager.
Yes.
The deed restriction that Amy is talking about, is that something, I mean, I know what we want to do, but is that something that all parties are privy to and understand which direction we're going?
Well, that's an important thing, and I don't know who's privy to what. But that deed restriction is every bit as important as the fence, because memories change over time. Do you have anything on that, Amy?
I know that we've discussed it, but Francisco Urena is on the call. So Francisco, if you want to speak to that.
Absolutely, Amy. Look, I am in agreement with whatever this body needs to have these orders of conditions. It is something that our city attorney has also been part of and understands, as well as our engineer and every in-house employee that we have here. So,
Great.
So Francisco, this is Al Manzi. I'm assuming, or I'm taking from listening to you that you would have no objection to that.
I do not have any objections. No, I really, want to continue to be a partner with you all and be the best steward of this property as we can, with the sense and understanding of that, we do have a partnership, you do have oversight, and a good relationship that we want to maintain with the Conservation Commission here.
Sounds good. Very good. And any other questions from anybody? Any questions, comments, concerns, or any neighbors or abutters that want to speak? I'm not hearing anything. Amy, what's your recommendation at this time, Amy?
So I think we can close and issue, and like I said, I have a draft order that you kind of spoke to through our discussion, ready for tonight.
All right, Joe Lynch does not have a copy of the draft order, to my knowledge.
Oh, I do.
You
Do you have it now?
I do. No, I do it. I read it. Oh, actually, I got my computer up when we were waiting to go online with the TV service. So yeah, I'm good now.
So let me ask: are all the commissioners in possession of a draft order of conditions?
Yes, I am.
Is there anybody that's not in possession? I'm hearing crickets on both sides. So,
Sean, you got one, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
okay, all right. So that we can, if somebody wants to move, Amy's recommendation is to close an issue. If somebody wants to make that motion, and then we can talk about the order of conditions later on.
Well, I move to close.
Motion and
Second.
motion
Second.
and second to close. Motion and second to close. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor of closing signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
And
And
one
did you,
one-
we have one abstention,
Thank you.
no opposition. The matter is closed, and the order of conditions will be deliberated on later on.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, you have the gavel back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yay!
Moving right along.
242-15, excuse me. 242-1856, 9 Hawkins Lane.
All righty. All right, so the commission will recall this is a vacant 3.7 acre parcel that is slated for a new single-family house, septic system, roof infiltrators, driveway that is partly shared with number 39 Hawkins, stone infiltration trench along the driveway, utilities, associated grading and landscaping. At the last meeting, the main point of discussion was the riverfront area delineation. In researching the early 2000 approvals, we had a riverfront delineation that was very close to what Ryan Hale, Commissioner Hale and I reviewed in the field together for this new delineation. The applicant has submitted that delineation on the plan. What is going on? I don't know who's.
Can you guys all check your background noise if anybody's got a TV going or anything in the background?
Okay, hopefully it's not me. So the applicant has submitted the plan that shows the riverfront delineation that Ryan and I reviewed and agree with. The engineer provided an updated alternatives analysis for riverfront and for the 50-foot no build where the driveway will be encroaching into that. You had asked for that material as well. I think it's you, Bill.
Yeah.
Amy, someone's connected twice,
Yeah.
phone and computer, and just need to mute.
Bill, you have feedback.
Does that help?
No, you're still. I guess.
Yeah,
Oh.
I got my IT specialist coming right now.
Sounds like a directional.
Mute that.
Okay. The commission also asked for information on the validity or the status of the shared driveway. He provided an opinion on that from an attorney. The commission directed that the shed and the dumping within the 25 and 50 be removed prior to this meeting. They carried out that removal and I verified that. Just reminder that it is in natural heritage Blanding's turtle habitat, and they were required to provide a turtle protection plan, which the Natural Heritage Program has reviewed and approved. There are several conditions that they have to meet for that to be carried through. Let's see. I guess that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Ryan, I'm sure you have questions because you had them the last time.
Yeah, I guess in terms of the delineation is, Amy, if you're satisfied that what's reflected on the most recent plan is what we agreed upon, both out in the field and after discussions, I'm okay with that. I don't have any issues with the driveway access, the alternatives analysis for that. The one thing that I do want to note is that it looks like the shed was removed and the lawn clippings were removed, but it's proposed to be naturally revegetated.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like maybe at a minimum reseeding that area,
Yep.
or even potentially some plantings.
Okay.
Particularly because it's riverfront area, you're supposed to maintain
Yep. Mm-hmm.
vegetation to the extent practicable within 100 feet, and because it's natural heritage, so every little bit counts.
Yes.
So I'd like to see something in that regard. But other than that, I have no other questions or comments.
Thank you. Jack?
Yeah, I guess my only thought was the driveway setback from the wetland line being only 35 feet. I understand that it's up against a steep slope. If you guys are satisfied with that, I'm good with that as well. No other questions.
Thanks, Jack. Al?
I have no questions at this time.
Joe?
Yeah, I just want to be careful. I'll defer to Sean on this one. The alternatives analysis makes a cogent argument for, why the driveway should be where it is. At the very end, though, it does fall back on the legal opinion, Iacoli law firm, which really is speaking directly to the covenant itself. So I want to be careful that, our decision is based on the access to the back lot only, and that there's no permanent alteration of actual resource area other than buffer zone, and that's why we might consider a waiver using the alternatives analysis. But I want to be very careful that if a covenant is in place, age-old, predating the wetlands bylaw, giving rights to get in there doesn't necessarily usurp the authority of our wetlands bylaw. And I want to make sure that that's not what we're saying here. Just because a covenant was written by Mr. Farr in 1987, if that in fact required the filling of wetlands in 2023, we probably ought not to allow it regardless of what the covenant says. But I will defer to Sean on that one. It's few and far between that we see these circumstances, but this might be one of those ground-breaking opportunities to draw a line in the sand and say, no, the covenant doesn't mean a thing with regards to actual disturbance of real wetlands. That's all I have on that.
Okay. Sean?
Yeah, this is an odd one for sure, and I don't know how much precedence we'd have to look back on it in that regard, Joe. Other than the issues you're raising, I really don't have any other questions, but I also don't have a definitive answer for you as to whether covenant controls or whether or not the Wetlands Protection Act usurps it.
What I want to be careful of is that if in our decision that we render, we're very careful to say the alternatives analysis proved that the driveway altering buffer zone only was an only alternative, and that's why we're going to grant the waiver, and really has no precedent on any prior covenant. Just leave it at that, because we're going to give them permission for that back lot, but not open it up for future, arguments down the road.
Agreed.
Any more questions, Sean?
I know, Lou.
Tony?
No questions. No questions.
All right, so we need a motion then, if there's no more questions.
So hold on, Lou. So is there an actual waiver request?
Yeah,
I don't know if there was a
Yes.
waiver requested.
Yep.
It was.
So
It was.
if there's a waiver request, we have to rule on that first.
Yes, I didn't know there was one.
yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the waiver request based on the alternatives analysis that showed that there was no other alternative to alter buffer zone land in order to gain access to that back lot.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Donna, I need a charge on this.
Now I think
The
we
motion
probably need
for
a
the-
motion to close.
Yes. Motion to close on 2/4/1856.
So moved.
second,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous.
Great.
Next one is,
Thank you.
there's no deal DEP number.
No, I know.
1000 Johnson Street. So is this just opening this one, Amy?
No, this is our second conversation. We still don't have a DP file number, but we should just talk about, plan changes that were precipitated at the last meeting. And then we will have to continue and wait for DEP's number. But, so let
The
me
biggest
just,
issue was the farmer's porch, right, Amy?
the farmer's porch, well, actually, it started first with, moving of a wetland flag or picking up a wetland flag. So this was my mistake in the field. I had thought that they missed a flag and they went ahead and just put an extra flag that was closer to the house than in reality. So it was a matter of numbering and my misreading of the numbers in the field and the plan. So the plan that you have now accurately reflects the wetland. So it shrunk the 50-foot no build zone away so that he can do the wraparound porch. He shrunk the depth of that a bit to be able to fit outside of the 50. He moved, like the generator pad outside on the opposite side of the house.
Yep.
So, and the driveway isn't as close as we first thought. So, but I mean, it's still, where it is, and they're not going to expand it. They're just going to do the crushed stone that you requested instead of pea stone.
Right.
The only thing that needs a waiver is the addition of stairs off the rear of the driveway. I'm sorry, after the rear of the garage. And they provided an alternatives analysis for that. They shrunk that stairway and landing to the minimum of 3 by 3. And their main concern well, their main purpose for that is to give people a way to get to the backyard to the garage instead of walking around on the right-hand side through the 25-foot no disturb zone, which is pretty close, to the wetland. And that's for the main thing. And the garage is in the 50, so it's not like you can move it. The house.
Yeah, the garage is closer. It's the stairway is in lawn area, existing lawn area.
Yes. Yep. And they're going to move an existing shed outside the 50, which is kind of straddling the 25 and the 50 right now.
So where is the waiver request?
Just the stairway, right?
Just the stairway to the garage.
Yes,
That's the only waiver request that's on there.
that's right.
That's all I'm seeing too. Okay, all right.
So Amy, the whole farmer's porch, the work in the front, that's been either taken off or it no longer applies because of movement of a flag.
Yeah, the flat, yeah. So now that we have a correct delineation now that delineation is correctly depicted on the plan, it moved the 50-foot no build away from the proposed wraparound porch. And that's just outside the 50.
Okay.
Okay. Ryan, any questions?
No questions.
Jack?
No questions, Lou.
Al?
I have no questions.
Joe?
Thank you, Chairman, for that dialogue. All the questions have been answered.
Sean?
No questions.
Tony?
No questions.
Okay.
So
we have to make a motion to grant the waiver.
we could do that tonight if you want, and then we still have to continue because we have no DEP file number.
Okay, well, let's at least get we can grant, here, why don't we just grant the waiver, no?
Yeah, you can talk about it. Yep.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
I didn't.
I'm going to defer the waiver discussion to Sean. If this was a new house coming in and we were going to have a stair within the 50, we wouldn't allow it. But given the fact that the driveway and the garage is already there inside the 50, does that give us a reasonable alternatives analysis to add a new stairway? I guess it might.
Well, that was going to be my question, Joe. Is there an alternative?
Don't put the stairway in. I mean, I don't have a stairway out the back of my garage. I walk around.
Right. Right.
I think where it's an existing lawn and it is a little minimal impact, I think we should grant the waiver. But you guys do what you want. But I mean, that to me that's a little bit of nitpicking. But it's a 3x3 stairwell on an old house. Like if it was new construction, I'd be a little more. But this house has been there for a long, long time. So
yeah, that's where I'm leaning to. By the way, it's because it's way inside the garage footprint and in lawn. Though we would never allow it on new construction, I think that's probably the only basis for a waiver. Is there an alternative? Yeah, just don't do it. But I don't think that's a valid alternative in this case.
I'd be a lot more comfortable if there was an alternatives analysis, though. I got to be honest with you. Just listening to the arguments being made now makes me even less comfortable. Either we stick to the 25, we stick to the 50, and we vary from it when there's a valid failure of alternatives. And I don't hear one here.
there isn't one.
So then
It's either let them have it or don't let them have it.
Well,
Well, we need to continue this one anyway.
I'd continue it, boys, because that's a real bad reason to issue a waiver.
I think it sets dangerous precedent.
It's just it's bad all the way around. If you're saying we're doing it just because and using the term nitpicky is what we do. We move houses over inches. You can't just say I don't want to be a nitpicker over a set of stairs. Well, we do it all the time. and we vary when there's a valid, alternatives analysis, which one is not here. I'd encourage the applicant to do a better job on an alternatives analysis for the next meeting.
Okay, so,
I would move that we continue.
sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd second that, Al.
All right, so let's motion to continue.
So Al moved and Joe seconded.
Yes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Okay, dokie.
Okay, next one is 242, no number again, 81 Paddock Lane.
All right. Proposed work includes installation of an in-ground swimming pool with associated paver patio, grading, block retaining wall, which is 3 feet height max, and aluminum fence. All equipment access will be from the paved driveway, a majority of which is outside the buffer. The proposed temporary stockpile area is partially within the 50. Our field inspector discussed this with the wetland consultant on site, and the alternative to move it further away would not be feasible because it's on the property line, and they're just concerned about potential runoff into the neighbor's property. A dewatering basin is shown on the plan and is located between the 50 and the 100. All work will be occurring within 100-foot buffer zone, and at its closest point, which is the fence and patio, will be 50.8 feet from the IBW. So this is an isolated vegetative wetland filed only under our bylaw. We confirmed the wetland delineation. We only moved one flag on the very far end of the wetland edge, and that didn't make any impact on the project. We confirmed that the filtration system will be a cartridge style and not a backwash type. And let's see. So there is a shed that is located within the 50-foot no-build zone that first appears in aerial photography in 2012. It sits on a gravel base with a drip edge. And this was in place before the current owners purchased it in 2018. And then also there is some lawn and ornamental plant dumping within the IBW and the 25-foot no disturb zone that should get cleaned up. But I believe Greg Hockmith, the wetland consultant, is with us this evening, if you have any questions.
Okay, let's get the questions from the commission first.
Okay.
Brian?
Yeah, I guess my only questions or concerns is regarding the location of the stockpile and the dewatering basin. So the reason that the stockpile can't be located further away is because it would have to be placed on the property line. Is that right?
Yeah, so it for the record, Greg Hockmith from Williams and Sparagus. There's not a ton of room off the driveway. They're going to have to bring fill in to build the grade up, and that's why we need the retaining wall. So if we put the stockpile area, I'll call it on top of the pool on the drawing to the west, it wouldn't give any room to get into the site. And it does slope off towards the neighbor's property, and we could, of course, continue the erosion controls around the lot and along the lot line, but it's really just it would be right in the way to get access to the area that they'd be working.
Okay.
I mean, realistically, they're going to use what they dig out, and they may even need to bring in material. I don't think it's going to be a balanced site, so we do need to stockpile materials on a temporary basis.
Okay, so it looks like so as they're staged on the plan, any erosion or any discharge from the dewatering basin would head north toward the is that north, up on the plan, I guess, toward the adjacent property anyway, right? So like, I'm just trying to, in terms of the grades, if the concern is things washing toward the adjacent property, I'm wondering if closer to the existing wood deck for the stockpile area and the dewatering might be more appropriate than where they are now. I think they'd be further from the wetland, or at least potentially a little further. I'm just trying to think of alternative locations.
Well, they're hoping
having not been out there, it's hard to, like, I know I haven't seen the site, so.
So one thing that we do need to be careful of is, I don't know if I can share my plan or not, but I could pull it up.
I can try
There's
to do
a septic tank that comes out of the back of the house right near the wood deck. And there's a line that goes from that tank to the distribution box, which is down near the shed. We don't know the exact location of that line, which is why we don't show it on our plan. But we do know that it's in the general area that you're talking about. So we're trying to keep construction vehicles away from that part of the yard. You can see it's ghosted where it says approximate septic tank right off the deck. And then the D box is out near the shed. So if you do a straight line between the two, that's what we're really trying to avoid, is impacting the septic system on the lot. It's another reason. We do have erosion controls, and I'm sure there'll be a monitor.
So what's the plan to identify that line then, to make sure you're not driving over it or excavating into it?
Yeah, so we have a note 4 on our plan, says the contractor shall identify the exact location of the sanitary disposal system prior to construction to ensure the system is protected during construction and that all required setbacks are being adhered to. We didn't have a great as-built plan to go off. We did do research at the Board of Health. They did have an as-built, but it didn't give us a lot of confidence. But we're sure that we're not within 20 feet with the pool, which is the required Board of Health setback to the leaching facility. And we're sure we're not within 10 feet of the pool with the septic tank, which is a setback. It's really just the line from the tank to the D box, which is an unknown. But that would be something that the contractor would do prior to construction. And of course, if there were any issues, they'd notify us. And if there were any issues that impacted the permit, we'd have to run that by the commission.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to hear what the other commission members have to say. So I have nothing else at this time.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. Jack?
Yeah, sticking with the same subject, Craig, I can see what you guys are doing, and I think it's a reasonable approach. I would just suggest that that maybe the commission could condition doubling up the hay bales, or actually the erosion control, maybe in a semicircular shape around that proposed stockpile area. I can see why you're doing it, and I think it makes sense. I would just make that suggestion to, better assure that migration of loose material isn't going to flow down into the buffer, further into the buffer zone and into the wetland. So I'd suggest that as a reasonable condition to consider. My thoughts on the shed are, we typically don't allow sheds in the 50-foot no build. I think that's against our bylaw, but I think this particular lot, where that shed's been in there such a long time, and it's partially in the 50-foot, it could be that those wetlands migrated up gradient and put it partially in. So I would view that with less of an authoritative approach. So those are my only thoughts.
Okay, Al?
Thank you. Greg, so is the shed the only real issue here?
Well, we're certainly happy to install additional erosion controls around any stockpiled material on site. That's easy enough to do, and I think it's a great idea. The shed was something that was a surprise to the property owners. They weren't aware of the no build setback requirements. And as Amy mentioned, the shed was there before they purchased the property. It sounds like as far back as, was it 2012 or?
Yeah, well, in terms of what we could find for aerials as far back as 2012.
Moving it further west, which would be towards the top of this plan, would push it into a wooded area. I mean, we are proposing to clear a little bit of that wooded area for the pool equipment, but we'd have to clear more.
You might run into zoning setbacks too.
Oh, right. And there's a drainage easement up there, which may or may not exist. That's to be determined, which is part of the reason why you don't see the pool in that drainage easement. Rather than engage an attorney to see if that drainage easement does exist, the property owners opted just to keep the pool and patio outside of it.
So if I'm paying attention correctly, it sounds like you just really need to do an alternatives analysis on the shed and request a waiver.
Well, the shed's there. We're not proposing to do anything to it.
Is it? But it's not. It's over the line. Did I hear correctly, or may I hear it wrong?
Yeah, it's currently over the no build zone line by about four feet.
So to allow the shed to continue to exist, you'd need a waiver.
I'll be honest, we haven't done that with all of our past applications with this commission with pre-existing structures that don't conform to the setbacks. It's not something we do on every one.
Yeah, this applicant bought the property in 2018. So they
Understood.
didn't.
I'm just trying to be consistent. Don't we normally, or if I'm wrong, tell me. But don't we normally, if we're going to allow a non-conforming use, which constitutes a waiver, don't we normally require some type of an alternatives analysis to use that as an accompanying document for the waiver request?
I think we fall short of that, Al, that if they can demonstrate that the shed existed prior to the bylaw, no disturbance and no build zones being created, we would allow the shed to continue in its existing location as a pre-existing non-conforming provision.
Got it.
But
Okay.
that shed showed up after the bylaw, a waiver is typically required, or we make them move it.
I missed the bylaw part. I'm all set. Thank you.
Greg, I don't have a plan with me, but it seems to me from the talk of the rest of the commissioners, they're concerned about the stockpile. And you said that you were going to use the fill on this around the pool. Is that to build up the side? Is that for building up the side of the pool, or is it you going to use just the backfill of land, the backyard generally?
Well, I mean, they're going to be digging a pool hole, and I know this commission always wants to see the stockpile area shown. We try to do our best to show it in a good location, or a location that's going to actually work instead of just plopping a circle on a plan to cross something off the list. In this case, we showed the stockpile.
I understand that. My question was, are you going to use that fill on the site?
Yes.
Yeah, they're hoping to use all of the fill, and I do think they're probably going to unfortunately have to bring additional material in also.
Right. And the fill right, the surplus, the fill that you're digging out, you're going to use it for backfilling the pool and grading it after?
That's the hope.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, question as on excavation end of it, why can't you dig the pool like you do digging a cellar and stockpile the fill around the perimeter of the pool hole?
I mean, this is an existing lawn. We're not cutting down woods to create a spot for the stockpile area. They're digging a pool. They're going to be doing grading.
All
I,
right, well,
I guess I'm just confused on why the stockpile area is such a problem.
Well, because there's alternatives. I'll get a plan tomorrow at the town hall and look at it. But everybody's raised a question about the stockpile, so that I haven't seen it, but we haven't got a number anyway, so we need to continue.
Well, no, this is a bylaw filing only. There is no DEP file number.
You don't have one.
We don't need one.
You don't. Oh, you don't need a DP file number.
Nope, it's under the bylaw only.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm just gonna see what the rest of the commissioners say. Joe?
So I'm gonna go down right to the resource area, the very first part of every conversation that comes before us. I'm seeing wetlands flags A1 through A8, typically following an elevation around 99.5, thereabouts, all around isolated vegetated wetland. I see the drainage easement, which may or may not exist, but on that same, I'm going to call it northern, like you did, the upper part of the sketch, I'm seeing grades in there at about the same elevation, 96.72, 99.54, and something that's called a drain easement. There's no other resource area up on this northern portion of the site that we need to worry about?
No, you know what's happening there, Joe, is the soils where the wetland is, they're Canton soils. And up where the pool is and the area that you were just referring to, that's roughly the same grade, that's Hinckley and Windsor soils, so it's really well drained.
Just sealing it, yeah, it's sealing, the Cantons are sealing off the Windsors, right?
That's what we suspect. That wetland did show on the subdivision plans too when this area was originally developed, so it's always been there. But just above where this pool is shown on the adjacent lot at 6 Olympia Way, there's a backyard and then a house. So it's a lawn for the neighbors with swing sets, and there's definitely no wetlands over there.
Okay. So that being the case, and I'm seeing the fill, and the fill is mostly as what we've been calling the north side of this plan. I see the temporary stockpile being very temporary. I think that as they're excavating, they're going to probably want to broadcast it along that northerly line to give them a plateau to work from. So when they lay out the pool and frame up the pool before they spray it, they're going to want that pretty flat. So I think the stockpile is kind of like a very, very small pile, if anything. I think most of it's going to be cast up to the north here. So I know we typically ask you to show it for us, and you've done that. The reality is I'm not sure that's an appropriate use in this case, because I think the material, in fact, is going to go along that whole edge at the end of the driveway. I mean, we're looking at 2 and 3 foot fills in there. And if you look at the area of the surface area of the pool and the depth of it, you're going to lose all of that material along that whole edge.
Yeah,
if not bringing material in.
They are going to have to strip top and sub and hopefully have something good beneath. And the tricky part about this is the elevation where the driveway is, which is why you see the retaining wall there. They have to create that level area. And, showing the stockpile area in a different location, it would just be in the way, or we'd have to put it in the driveway. And I mentioned we do want to stay away from that line going from the tank to the D box. We don't want any equipment going anywhere near that. So we're kind of stuck.
I think it goes back to either Ryan's or Jack's earlier comment. I think if you just simply fortify the erosion controls along that, as we're looking at this, what we've been calling the southeast orientation of that pile, I think that's all you really need to do with the stockpile. I think the shed, if you can demonstrate that it was there prior to the bylaw, I think the waiver request goes away from my perspective. If it was not there prior to the bylaw being in place, then it's a pre-existing nonconformance that is an illegal nonconformance, and we probably need to either have you ask for a waiver or move it out of the area. And that's all there is to that. But other than that, I have no issues with the proposal.
Thanks, Joe. Sean?
I don't have any questions and agree with Joe's thoughts about whether a waiver request is necessary is based upon whether the shed was there before the bylaw.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Tony?
No questions.
All right, so we don't have to, we don't have to continue, so we just have to act on what we got. Because we don't need a DEP file number.
I think
We
we
need a motion.
need, I think we need to continue for the shed, because if we were to close right now, we would
Oh, that's
presume
right.
shed does not
That's right.
comply, that we would order it out of the 50. So I think they would want a continuous.
So what is the date that we're, because the earliest photo that they could find is 2012, and correct me if I'm wrong, Amy, but the other photos, either, it's not that they don't show the shed, but you just can't see that area, is that correct?
From what I could see.
Yeah, and of course, the new property owners won't know. So I don't know that we're gonna be able to prove that the shed was there before the bylaw. Depending on what that date is.
So are they prepared to move it out of the 50, if that's the case?
I suppose, but I mean, we just had a similar situation on another project in town, and you know, the shed was able to stay. I'm just, you don't do this for every lot. You know, there's a lot of fences, for example, in the no disturb zone. Fences are supposed to be 50 feet away from wetlands. You know,
I also think that we might be beyond our statutory time frame to take enforcement action on this. If they bought in 2018, there's that 3-year period that, you know, we have the ability to act. I think we're beyond that, I think.
What 3-year period are you referring to?
Yeah,
It's
I don't
3
know
years
if
after the violation's known, I believe.
Okay.
so there is the DEP enforcement manual, which talks about statute of limitations upon transfer of title, and that is 3 years upon transfer of title. However, there's new case law that just came out that said the clock starts every time there's a new transfer of title. So I think the commission gets another bite of the apple for 3 years each time. And that just came out last year, and I don't think anybody's ever challenged it.
I think the DEP requirement speaks to the Wetlands Protection Act and not the local bylaw. So we're on a very slippery slope with this.
Okay.
I mean, listen, if we have to move the shed a little bit to get it out of the 50, we will. You know,
so
it doesn't have to go very far.
So that dashed line is actually the drainage easement. It's not the zoning setback.
That's right.
All right. So you might have room to do that.
Yeah, and I'll tell the commission right now, I don't have an alternative analysis that I can give you that would allow this to stay, because it can move. There's nothing I can say as to why it has to stay where it is.
Hold on, Greg, 1 second. This is Al. I have a question I have to ask. I'm sorry to go out of turn here, but when I was inquiring about the shed and when I was asking questions, I was told that the shed predated the bylaw. Where did that information go?
No. I don't think anybody ever said that.
No, we didn't say that. I just said that I could see it as early as 2012 in aerial photographs.
No, I heard very specifically when I was asking about the shed that I was told that the shed predated the bylaw. That's what I said, and that's why I stopped my line of questioning.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
I didn't
say that.
So all I'm saying is, if the shed predates the bylaw, there shouldn't be any discussion. If the shed doesn't predate the bylaw, then we have to be careful.
Okay, and I'm not sure if it does predate the bylaw.
So why don't we continue it to see if they can do some more homework?
Okay.
I think I just heard Greg say that if we needed to move the shed outside the 50, they could. There is no other alternative that he could support, whether the bylaw is an issue or not. It's probably unlikely this predates the bylaw, just knowing that area of town that was developed and when it was developed. I think we just move on and just get the shed out of the 50 and just move, slide it a little
Yeah.
further to the north and be done with it.
So this is Tony. Greg, if you were going to move the shed, you'd probably move it kind of back where the proposed pool equipment is, or behind it, which would cause it to be under the drip line. It's a pretty small encroachment. Is there a way that you could maybe double that encroachment and do some plantings closer to the wetlands where the drip line is there, as mitigation? And then,
Thank you,
because
Tony.
getting a track machine out there, and moving it or something to move it, I think you're going to muck up the buffer zone more than what we're going to see.
So we can move the shed, or we can keep the shed and put plantings in. We can do either or. The property owners are okay with either one. We've talked to the shed at length. We've talked about the shed at length with them. We've also talked about plantings. They're open to whatever the commission wants them to do. Like I said, it's easy enough for us just to slide that thing 4.5 feet, get it out of the no build, and then we just loam and seed that area.
I think we should just slide it out of the 50 instead of getting into like plantings that they have to care
That's
for.
right. You've got a septic system, leaching fields, leaching trenches, all right there. That's all approximate. I think just sliding, get it out of the way is probably the quickest and cleanest way to do it.
Yep, we will do that. We'll revise the plan. Not a problem.
All right, so where do we stand now? Are we continuing? Are we voting?
I think we're going to continue awaiting the revised plan. So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Okay, next one is 242, no number, Wire Hill, Hatch, White Trail Improvements.
Alrighty. Oh, wait a minute. Wrong one. Okay. So the applicant, which is the town, is proposing trail improvements that aims to deter the public from migrating off the existing established trails and degrading the naturalized areas around Lake Echikuik and its adjacent wetlands. The trails are located to the east of the Hatch Trail Stone Arch Tunnel and on properties owned both by the town and the trustees. 2 sections of post and rail fencing are proposed to deter the public. One section is proposed east of the tunnel and above the C-Series wetland. The other section is proposed from wetland flag C13 north around the E-Series isolated vegetated wetland, and then in a southerly direction along the west side of the Alewife Trail into the Wire Hill Trustees property. All proposed work will be completed by hand and will not impede wildlife passage. A tarp will be placed next to the proposed fence post location. Excess soils will be placed in the tarp and taken off-site. Exposed soils will be covered with leaf litter. 2 areas of the trail are proposed to receive plantings to obscure. One trail has been created by pedestrians that's cutting through, and so we want to obscure that trail with plantings and seeding. And then the second area is down on the trustees' property where the existing post and rail fence kind of create a funnel into the lake. And so the idea is to cut that funnel off basically, and we're going to plant that area as well. So we'll remove that welcoming alleyway into the lake by cutting it off with a new post and rail and then planting the area.
Okay. Brian, any questions?
Sounds like a really beneficial project. I have no questions.
Jack?
Yeah, just a comment, Lou. It's probably going to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish, which is foot traffic causing causing disturbance and then erosion into the lake and all. It's probably going to accomplish that. What it's not going to accomplish is the dog walkers putting their dogs in the lake right in that canoe launch area. I don't think we're going to improve on that. Maybe that's for another year. But I think it's a fine project.
Thank you, Jack. Al?
I have no questions. I'm all set.
Joe?
I think the trustees proposed a very similar project in the same vicinity not too many years ago, maybe 4 or 5, 6 years ago. And I'm kind of curious, was it successful, or is this just now fortifying that same project area? Because I want to say it's just about the same part of that trail that the trustees previously came in on. And that was done under a friendly enforcement order.
Yep. Yeah, I think that was.
I remember that as well, Amy.
Right.
I remember that also. The same area,
Yeah.
same idea, same request.
Yeah. I think it was trying to address erosion at that time, not necessarily use. And I think it's proved through the years that the way it funnels people right into the lake, it's just not working.
All right, so this is just fortifying it's same exact concern, just fortifying the original work that was done in the interest of, hopefully people are going to comply and we're going to be able to stabilize the area out there. And the great thing is we've always invited people out to enjoy our resources, but by doing so, sometimes they destroy them. So
right, exactly.
whatever we can do to make it,
Right.
better, let's do that. But, this is just an ongoing effort, it seems.
Right.
Amy, can I speak to that? This is
Yeah.
Jean Enright. So this is Jean Enright. I partnered with the trustees on this application through CPC for funding. And what this will do is expand upon that prior effort. So that prior effort began at this funnel point, and it went along the lake in the other direction, and it has worked. The replantings that were done there have been successful. And so it really delineates the trail. It keeps walkers off the shoreline. You're right, dogs are still going to, if they're not on leash, they're going to make their way where they want to be. But I think it helps delineate it. And so it expands it from the hatch area, the canoe launch area, to where it began about 5 years ago.
Thank you. Joe?
I'm all set. I just wanted to remind everybody that we need to be conscientious of how we use our trails, and we doing our best efforts to keep people out of the areas where they could misuse things. But as long as we know it's just continuing, ongoing, and optimism that people do the right thing.
Okay. Sean?
No questions, Lou.
Tony?
No questions.
Okay.
So some sections of the fence will be within 25 of the wetlands. So they did provide a waiver request. I just insisted that they do because it is, but
I move to grant the waiver by necessity. There is no other alternative.
there isn't. The trail is where the trail is, the wetlands are where they are, and without putting these fences in, we're not going to accomplish the project at all.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous.
So the other aspect is we are in natural heritage and we're waiting to hear back from them. I think we got a DEP file number today, but we don't have natural heritage yet. So unless someone else, they usually CC me right away when they're responding to the applicant. So I think the commission usually continues until we hear from them.
Okay. Motion to continue.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous. Okay, so we killed that one. All right,
So
COC.
continue to February 8th. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
COC 242-1739, Ray Street subdivision, requested continue till March 8th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous. Amy, just a quick question on this one. Do we have, if they certified the stormwater plan?
No, that's what we asked for last time, and they didn't have their stuff together, so.
Oh. So they shouldn't even apply for COC if they don't have it. That's part of the order condition.
Yeah. I guess the commission can. Well,
Okay.
maybe the commission just give them one more continuance, and if they don't have what we need next time, then we can deny.
I don't know. I love it. I guess if you keep trying, we're gonna forget. Okay, next one. 242, 1045, 430 Oscar Street, North Andover High School. Before I open it up to the commissioners, Amy, you have the engineer there?
Fred King is on the line with us. Yes, he's a project engineer.
I'd like to speak to him before we open this up.
What do you mean?
I'm here.
Hi, Mr. King. You guys applied for this a couple of years ago, and we required an as-built, and we were told that they couldn't afford it. So I believe there's $38,000 in bond money that's been seized as part of this project. Now, I'll defer to the commission, but I think the main thing, because we're not going to move the building if it's not in non-compliance. But I think the main thing, which was my concern, was utilities, because if the utilities aren't what it's supposed to be, or they are, and there are areas of the wetlands that have to be dug, I think that's going to be a sticking point. I mean, I'll put it forward to the commissioners, but I really think that we need at the minimum, utilities certificate of compliance.
Well, we did, what we don't have is a stamped survey plan of the utilities. We do have the contractors as-built that were done, which are, we reviewed their plan, and it looks reasonably accurate. And so we've submitted those with the application. We submitted it the last time too. Back in 2018, when we filed this before, the commission wanted an as-built of the entire site done by ground survey. That one ended up being extremely expensive, and there was nothing in anybody's contracts, the contractors or the architects or anybody's contracts that would cover it's roughly at that time in 2018 is around $65,000 to do an on-the-ground survey that showed everything.
Well, at the time, there was $50,000 in bond money too. But that's irrelevant. But like I said, I'll defer to the commissioners. But I think at the minimum, an as-built, a utility as-built, a stamped utility as-built would be something that the commission will be looking for. But I will defer to them. I just wanted to give everybody heads up before we get too far with this. Okay. Thank you, sir. Ryan,
Okay.
You have any questions?
I don't. This predates me quite a bit, so I'm not entirely familiar. So I will listen to the rest of the commissioners, but I do agree that the utilities would be something that are would certainly be useful to have on an as-built. Other than that, since I don't have the background that everybody else does, I'm going to listen to them and then maybe have some comments at the end.
Okay, thank you, Wayne. Jack?
Yeah, this is a tough one, Lou. I mean, obviously, we always require an as-built at the end of an NOI, especially one this big. Utilities certainly are important. I think it's also important that we have reasonable ideas of what the elevations are, at least around the perimeter, which is a very large perimeter. How to approach it, I think it's not me, but I think we need to find somebody that knows how to direct the use of these remaining funds and satisfy it the best we can. Prioritizing, utilities and, overall elevations maybe as points that we're definitely going to make, but I think we need some help on how to direct that. So I don't know who to recommend, but I'll help however I can. That's all I got.
But I think that like the football field was after the fact. I'm sure there's an as-built plan for that. I'm sure there's now as-built plan which has no really impact. There's no wetlands where they are up on top by the fire station. But they're in the process of building a baseball field, or trying to get funding for a baseball field, which will require there's wetlands around that. But I think everything is pretty much where it is. In the school, there isn't much we can do with that. But I'm just thinking about the school's going to be 20 years old, and all you pipe guys know that after around 20 years, things start to fail. So I'd like to see that as-built be done. I did have plenty of money. Al?
Yes. So just a quick observation. When the school was built, my memory is that it came in more than $1 million under bid. There was a tremendous amount of money that did not get spent. The school got completed, nothing got deleted, and it came in under bid. There isn't any reason why an as-built wasn't done right then and there at the time. I'm in favor of an as.
They built a football field instead.
That's right. I was on the commission for both projects. I was on the commission for the high school, for the football field, for every bit of it. I was also on the commission when the Board of Selectmen, was very interested in why the driveway was laid out. I've been a part of the whole thing, and what stands out in my mind, and I think a great job was done by all, and I'm not criticizing anybody. I think a great job was done. It's a great school. I just don't understand how you can come in $1 million or $2 million under bid and not commission an as-built then and there. I'm in favor of an as-built. I have no idea where the money's going to come from. Thank you.
Okay. Joe?
Even before you started your preamble, Lou, my brain was going exactly in the same direction. That this project, 22 years ago, was done in good faith. Everybody knew what needed to be done. The building got built, for the most part, in a very good way and a very reasonable cost. But for some reason, our order conditions wasn't fulfilled. They repeatedly have asked for a certificate of compliance, which they have not complied with. So they're not eligible for a certificate of compliance. So I'm kind of curious. Timing is everything. In 2023, somebody is asking for a certificate of compliance. I'm not sure it's the school department itself. I'm not sure who the bond would be returned to. But we've got subdivisions all across town that are non-compliant. Bear Hill and Fox Hill, and things that have been issues in the past. We just simply, piece by piece, will issue partial certificates of compliance for individual lots. But nonetheless, the subdivisions are non-compliant. This project is non-compliant. They're not eligible. The issue becomes that a non-compliant project who's failed to meet the certificate, to get a certificate compliant because they're non-compliant with the order conditions, isn't eligible for future permits. If they're looking to build a baseball field, or they're looking to do anything else on the site, we can't even hear it. They're non-compliant. So I think they better get whatever as-built is required on record and complete a full certificate of compliance request. They are not eligible, and I would never vote for it under these circumstances. Done.
Okay, thank you. Sean?
I'm in agreement that we need an as-built. Thanks, Lou.
Tony?
Yeah, I mean, we would expect something from a private homeowner, so I don't see why we would hold the town to any different standard.
All right, so
I move that we deny the request for certificate requirements for this project.
I'm going to second for discussion. I'm going to second it for discussion, and the discussion should be, in my opinion, to give the school committee or whoever the applicant is an opportunity to respond as to when they will do the as-built. I'd give them a chance before I denied it.
Okay, before we go there, what are we gonna require as an as-built? A full, with the building and everything, as-built plan?
Lou, whatever the order of conditions says, we're not gonna modify the order of conditions. Whatever is listed on the OOC is what they should be doing. If we start modifying or amending the order of conditions to suit, then we're gonna have every homeowner in town asking for the same thing.
No, I'm not asking to amend the order. I don't even
Well,
know
you're
what's
asking.
required.
You're asking what's required. Well, whatever is required is listed or should be listed on the order of conditions. So my humble opinion is to refer the applicant back to the order of conditions and comply with it. That would be the best advice you can give. Don't start trying to give advice beyond that, because it will just.
There's an engineering firm and a surveying firm who ought to be able to have enough confidence in the construction notes that were referenced earlier in this presentation that exist to be able to commit them to a plan in a reasonable fashion that would be acceptable to us. If they're unable to have that confidence to put them onto a plan and put their stamp on it, then we should be concerned of their accuracy. So, either the information exists that we should be satisfied with and put it on a plan and somebody stamp it so it's on the record. And if they're reluctant to do so, we should be reluctant to consider that to be an as-built. It's really, it's nothing in between.
Okay.
DGT Associates, who bought out Schofield Brothers, has got the ability to sort through this. I think they're on the hook, and whether the school committee or the town itself or the school building committee has the authority to go after it. I mean, the reality is they're in violation of the order conditions, and if they want to force our hands, we could find them in default, in violation, and move it in a very aggressive fashion. It's ridiculous after 20 years that we're still having the same discussion.
So right now we're in discussion on a motion. We should either vote on the motion or move a new question.
I just like to ask Mr. King one question before we vote on it. Mr. King, do you have information available to have the capability of doing a COC?
We did the best with what we had. Like I said, since we did 179 inspections out there, and I did a certification in the letter that certifies what I can certify too. The as-built that was done was a contractor's as-built. Schofield Brothers or DGT did not do a complete as-built of the entire site, which is what the order of conditions requires. So the as-builts that were done by the contractor, those were strictly utility as-builts. But like I say, we haven't done nobody has done a full as-built of that site. And we can only certify a person, an engineer or a land surveyor can only stamp work that they are absolutely certain of and they did. They can't certify someone else's work because they think it's done right. So that's the quandary we're in at the moment. And our contract is long over. We never had a contract to do an as-built, and the way the contract was written for the developer, for the builder, they gave us the as-built that were required under their contract. So they were, and same thing with the architect. So basically, in order to get an as-built done, there's a contract change. You gotta do a new survey of the site, essentially.
Okay. So
Mr. Jim, I suggest we call the vote, Mr. Jim.
I'm sorry, but Jim Mealy is on the line. He'd like to talk.
What's that?
Yeah.
Superintendent Jim Mealy's with us and he'd like to talk.
Okay, sure.
So thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm certainly not speaking to try to change your minds. I can shed a little light on the conversation that's happened so far. I can't speak to why it wasn't done in the first place, but I know that when this was brought to my attention, I brought it forward in 2018 to the committee. And the real question that came out of that for me, and I'm not going to speak in the technical terms, I don't know them, but what was explained to me, and I did confirm that those funds had been held and were available and would have covered what was suggested was an adequate survey, and I'm sorry if that's the wrong word, but a kind of an aerial view that was then supplemented by boots on the ground to complete the survey. And so that was really the question, because I was told that the money that was available would cover that type of survey, but that if you wanted a full boots on the ground survey, it was going to be about twice as much, and we didn't have those funds. So just trying to be responsible, the question I've had for quite a while now is which one is necessary, and it's becoming clear this evening. And I can tell you that no one wants to resolve this more than I do. This has been the top of my to-do get done list since then. And it's clear to me this evening that you're asking for the full boots on the ground survey. So I just wanted to explain how we got where we are right now.
Thank you. I do remember the aerial survey, but the problem is with the aerial survey, it doesn't give us the information on the utilities.
Understood. And one of the things that I did in our capital request this year, anticipating this possibility, is I put funds in there that I can use to supplement the existing funds. So we will do what you're asking us to do and come forward with the request once that's done.
Very good. So we're gonna we'll deny this one, or do we
you have a motion and a second to deny.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Opposed? Well, opposed? That's unanimous.
No, I'm Louis.
What?
I'm voting opposed on the denial.
Oh, you're voting opposed on the denial?
Yes, I'm more in favor of a motion to continue. So I'm voting.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
It's not. That wasn't my motion. We just. You had a motion and a second to deny. That wasn't made by me.
Okay.
All right. I just voted no on the motion, and the motion prevailed.
Right. So, can I just point one thing out? In response to Mr. King's statement that no engineer or surveyor is going to want to put their stamp on something that they weren't part of. I think it's it's not so much that as they go out and they survey existing conditions
All the time.
and they give us an existing conditions plan. They're not saying they're not going to, there could be parts that are not compliant, but they're there to figure that out and tell us, I looked at the approved plan set and I observed it in the field and surveyed it, and here is the difference.
And they do it all the time. We get that all the time. This is
Right.
what's there, and this is what the differences are.
Right.
Okay, well, I would like to,
So
Because
Mr. King does have his hand up, so he's looking to speak.
before we move forward, I don't know what the proper thing is, but I misunderstood the motion. I thought the motion was to deny.
Louis, Lou, listen. This is Al. You did not misunderstand it. The motion was made by another commissioner to deny.
Okay.
I voted no, but that wasn't the motion. You got the motion right.
Okay.
All right.
Just to make it clear, I made the motion, Al seconded it, we discussed, which is what, normal
Correct.
Robert's rules is.
Correct.
And based on that discussion, we took it to a vote, and just as long as the record's clear, Al opposed the motion to deny. Even though he seconded it, he's allowed to.
Correct.
Vote against
That's
it.
correct.
That's the way it went down, I think.
That
Okay.
That's accurate. I agree with that.
Yep.
Okay, all right. So the other gentleman that we spoke, go ahead, Amy.
No, go ahead.
Lou, I think we have to go to the instant replay on this one.
That's why
We can call a revote if you want.
No, it's
No,
clear.
that's okay.
I'm growing tired of this on the phone meeting stuff. I'm telling you.
I know, me too. Next time I'm gonna call in sick.
Well, I just
The,
have one point, that the, that's all well and good, the as-built requirement, that's fine. But there's a whole bunch of other conditions that we are, we showed what the compliance was with all the other conditions. Was there any other issues that should be dealt with? I think we talked about with Amy about the replacing some of the medallions and the bird boxes that are gone. There's the gravel parking area that was in the southern part of the site is beginning to encroach. Just by the way gravel parking lots do, they tend to creep toward the wetland a little bit from use, and things like that. Are there any other issues that need to be addressed in addition to the as-built, or is everything else okay?
I would call everybody's attention to whatever was an ongoing and continuing condition in perpetuity, like, inspection reports and filing of reports and, things of that over time. And we got 20 years worth of history here where everything that may not have been done could, in essence, be a non-compliance. So I think a review of the order of conditions in its entirety, particularly the potential perpetual conditions at the end, are pretty significant. You're right. I mean, things change over time, and over 20 years, they change a lot. And if they weren't maintaining things in the proper way and created other impacts, I mean, those are potential pitfalls that need to be identified. Remember, these perpetual conditions at some point passed on to the town and the school department itself, and facilities folks should be making sure that they're complied with year in and year out. And you stop pointing fingers between the as-built plan and the bigger picture. Just in the end, it needs to be sorted through and make sure the entire project is completely in compliance before we issue a certificate of compliance. We, just like an engineer would be reluctant to rely on somebody's information to put a stamp on it. Our job ultimately is to certify compliance and issue a certificate. We don't have it. We're certifying you're not compliant.
Okay, so we got to start somewhere. So starting with the as-built on the site should be paramount. and then we can start from there. But I think, you know, maintenance of parking lots and stuff like that, we can address. The medallions,
Yep.
do they have to be refreshed? I mean, it's
Yep.
been 20
Oh,
years.
yeah. Yep. They should
Okay.
be, I think,
All right, so that, you know,
because
maybe if
medallions
if
should be maintained in perpetuity. That's sort of an ongoing condition on every order.
All right,
So
well, they
medallions and bird boxes and
all right, so
snow
they should
signs.
they should be working on the as-built, and you should, and maybe you can go over the order
Yep.
and see what's outstanding, and then you could send that to them also. So that what's non-compliant.
Mhm.
And then we can, and then you can either bring it before the commission if that's what the commission would like to have done, or
Yep.
and go from there. But we got to start somewhere. I mean, we just wasted 3 years doing this. So,
Okay.
So we have a motion. It's already been voted, right?
Yep, we did.
All right.
It's already been denied. We should be moving on to the next item.
Okay. Very good.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Next one is 242-634 parcel COC on 85 Colonial Ave.
All righty. So the order issued in January of 1993 governed the construction of a 29-lot subdivision with associated roadways, utilities, wetland replication, and stormwater management structures. House lots were not individually permitted under separate notices of intent, so the subdivision plan served as lot development plans. The engineer certification has been provided noting the deviations. I researched the file and found a 1996 as-built plan for this lot. The then conservation administrator, Mike Howard, approved a cantilever deck with its footings outside the 50-foot no-build zone. That plan also showed a small patio, which he didn't seem to comment on, and that was in the 50 as well. Since then, the patio expanded and the deck has grown into a larger porch footprint. While I was on site just before the snowfall last week, I found that there were some things, you know, in the 50 and the 25. There was an artificial grass blanketing that straddled the 25 and the 50. There was like a doghouse and some cordwood and construction wood that was stored at the end of the driveway in the 50. And there was some dumping of landscape debris and grass clippings over the existing retaining wall. And that was sort of in between the two houses. The property has changed hands, but the seller took care of all of those violations that I just mentioned, the grass clippings and the cordwood, and so that's all gone, and we verified that today, and it looks fine. So we're just at the point where they're looking for a partial certificate of compliance. Like I said, the property has changed hands, and they're looking to close that out for the lot. So that's the homeowners are on the line with us if you have questions for them. But
thanks, Amy.
Yep.
Brian?
Yeah, so Amy, you mentioned an after-the-fact modification for the patio and porch potentially. Is that in compliance, the patio and porch, or is that still outstanding?
The patio was not mentioned or approved in Mike Howard's review.
Okay.
And the porch, so there was a deck footprint. I think I gave you that plan.
Yep.
And now we have the as-built. It shows sort of like two more footings that support sort of it's like a screened-in porch type thing. It's it's underneath, some of it's underneath the existing deck, and then
So is this a situation where a waiver might need to be requested? Like, is this a situation like previously where we have to figure out if this
possibly.
predates the bylaw or if a waiver is
No,
required?
it doesn't predate the bylaw.
Okay.
No. Because the subdivision did call out 25 and 50 foot, and that was after the litigation that we went through when we first instituted the bylaw.
Okay.
Isn't this the first 40B, Al, Joe?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think it was 40B.
This is not a 40B.
It's or cluster. What was the cluster zoning? Is that what it was called?
What year was it built?
Hold on.
Early 90s?
If it was built in the early 90s,
Yeah.
that cluster zone hadn't been enacted yet.
Okay.
That was done by an act of town meeting later on. This is not there's no bizarre zoning for this place that I remember at all.
Okay.
Standard rules of compliance apply here, Lou.
Okay. So
Yeah, so I have no other questions or comments beyond that. I think, I think we need to see a waiver request for anything that's, not in compliance.
Yeah, I would agree with that. This is Jack. I would agree with that too, Lou. Whatever's non-compliant and was not addressed by Mike Howard back in 1993, and resolved that way, I think is reason to question the validity of the certificate of compliance. I think we need to resolve it one way or another, whether it be through a modification, through waiver requests, or through just make the lot compliant. But COCs are pretty simple. It either complies or it doesn't. And I think we should look at it under that lens. And so if we've got a deck and we've got a patio that are potentially non-compliant, I guess we need to address that with the homeowners.
yeah, that's what I was thinking also. Al, you have any questions?
My advice to the applicant is to withdraw the request and bring the place into compliance. That's my advice. And that's all I have to say. It's out of compliance. It doesn't qualify for a certificate. Bring it into compliance.
Okay. Joe?
Yeah, I'm kind of wrestling with the same thing. So the request before us is a partial certificate for the subdivision itself. But on a lot-by-lot basis, the premise is we would consider those based on those lots themselves being in compliance. That's pretty much the summary, right, of what's being asked?
That's right.
I agree with you, Joe.
Yeah, so this particular lot, has a number of things that were altered outside of the subdivision approval and without any other NOI filing or small project filing or any filing of any sort. So, those things very least need consideration under an after the fact filing. And once that's in place, we would issue a certificate of compliance on anything after the fact, and then we could then consider it for a partial on the subdivision. But right now, it's not even eligible for the partial. It's non-compliant.
Right.
Yeah, I hate to say it. They got some work to do here, and it's something that's occurred over time. I read Mr. Ogren's certification letter, and he almost says as much. It's my understanding that was allowed at the time. Well, it doesn't wash. It wasn't allowed. It's not allowed now. So those sorts of things, those activities that he legitimately is pointing out, are things that need to be applied for after the fact. That's what I have.
Okay, thank you. Sean?
Sean, are you with us?
I saw
Oh,
that
yeah,
Sean, I saw that he left. Oh, are you back,
Oh,
Sean?
here he is. He's back.
Yeah, I lost connectivity, but I'm back. I don't have any other questions other than what's already been raised by the other commissioners. Thanks.
Okay. And Tony, you have to recuse yourself, correct?
That is correct. I was involved in the I was involved in the original subdivision. So.
Okay.
So,
Very
Mr.
good.
Chairman, rather than making a motion to deny, I'm giving the applicant an opportunity to withdraw.
Okay.
Excuse me, can I be heard?
Sure.
Attorney Alexander Castaldo on behalf of Jeffrey and Caroline Castaldo, and there's also Attorney Allison Burns on this call as well. So I think just for some clarification, it's my understanding that the patio and the original deck were constructed by the developer as part of this development. Those were not constructed by the Castaldos, and that the patio itself has not been expanded. They were just pavers placed on top of what was already existing at that time.
So the original developer that built this subdivision had numerous violations on numerous lots all over the place. What I'm seeing in front of me, I'm relying upon the information that's in front of me. The property is not in compliance. So it's your job to bring it into compliance and reapply. Or you can insist that we vote, and it's likely that we will vote to deny you.
Okay. Al, the only thing I would add onto what you just summarized is that, again, that's on the issue of the request for a partial certificate of compliance. But now that we know that the individual lot in itself is non-compliant, there is a potential that there's a violation notice that might need to be issued to this lot. So it behooves everybody to, get the ducks in order and get the down thing permitted and documented and certified and be done with it.
Yeah, just bring it into compliance. Just withdraw and bring it into compliance. No penalty.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I, this is Allison Burns. I'm the attorney for the Castaldos along with Ali Castaldo. I want just another bit of clarification if we could, because the applicants are no longer the owners of the property. So looking at what we're asking for, it's just a partial certificate of compliance. They no longer have any attachment to the property that has the non-complying deck on there. So I'm wondering if we can separate these issues and get a partial certificate of compliance and then deal with the deck with the current owners of the property.
I disagree, Mr. Chairman. What is the condition? Ride with the
Weir Hayes Engineering, New England's trust.
What was that? So yeah, the subdivision rules and the property conveyances, all of those interests transfer with every single conveyance. That's why we require certifications and affidavits with each sale of property, so people are aware of what they're subject to. So, all of those things are to protect the perpetuity of what is required. Multiple conveyances happen all the time, but right now you've got whoever it is has a lot that's non-compliant until itself is on its own footprint, which prevents us from looking at the bigger picture and giving the partial for the subdivision itself. We can't separate the two.
But I don't think we should have to go around. I think you kind of got quite a direction from a couple of the commissioners that the lot is non-compliant. They're asking you to withdraw because if we vote on it, it'll probably be denied. So I think you should go back to the table and make the lot compliant. And we're doing it that they're being good in the fact that they could do an enforcement order and you can be fined. So I think they're kind of being pretty good in this direction.
Right, I understand. I just for a clarification point, because I just as to the deck, because it seemed like on the 1996 plan that portion of the deck that was installed was fine. So would that still be the case?
I think that if we have a 96 plan that is initialed and approved by the then conservation administrator approving the deck cantilevered because the footings were outside the 50, I think we'd have to allow the deck. That's my opinion.
Yeah, if that's documented, that's
Yeah.
fine.
But
I've got
we
it
don't
right-
have it. We don't have that stuff right now, right?
Yes, I have it in your email. It's in the meeting folder, so that's why Allie and Allison are talking about it, because I emailed it to you and it is in the meeting file.
Okay, but on the whole, the property is not in compliance. Am I right or wrong?
Correct. Because things grew beyond
Okay.
the deck that was approved.
So I'm going to ask again. Just bring this thing into compliance, or I think we'll have to have a motion to deny it and end the discussion.
Amy, can I clarify something? This is Jack. Yeah, I'm going down your bullets, and it says the 1996 plan, Mike Howard approved the cantilever deck with the footings outside the 50-no build. Then the next bullet down says, since then, the patio has expanded and the deck has grown to a larger porch footprint.
Right.
So it sounds like the deck is larger than what was approved by Mike Howard in 1996. Or am I wrong?
Well, I think maybe not the deck so much, but things around the deck. It grew things around it. Like there's like a screened-in porch to the side of the deck that's supported with, you'll see on the as-built plan, there's 2 footings there for the porch.
Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like we need to do like to revisit the inventory of what was approved by the original NOI and the 1996 plan
Right.
by Mike Howard, and what is non-compliant. It could be easy or difficult based on what we find, but I think we need to understand clearly what that is, the deck and the patio, and whatever else might be potentially non-compliant.
Yep.
Right.
That's
so,
what I think.
So what do you want to vote us to vote on it, or do you want to withdraw?
Would
I
it be
think
appropriate? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Allie,
no, go ahead, Allison.
Would it be appropriate to ask for a continuance to see if we can get a little bit more information about what precisely was approved? And if we determine that there is non-compliance here, then we can withdraw and then look to request a waiver. Would that be an appropriate path for us?
I would agree with that. I have no problem with that.
I would too.
Okay.
I'd move the continuance for you right now.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Then opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. You're all set.
So continue to February 8th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next one, 242590 partial COC. I have a question before we move on this.
Sure.
Partial COC request for 165 flagship. And what's it, two certificates for the same property?
Property, yes. For different
Okay.
file numbers.
Okay, so we are they two different projects?
Yes, so I'll explain.
Okay.
All right.
And
So this is
590.
Yep.
Go for
All
it,
right.
Amy.
Okay, so this order 590 was issued in July of 1992, and it governed the extension of Willow Street and Flagship roadways, associated utilities, and wetland crossing replication. This roadway extension created frontage for additional lots, and 165 being one of them. The subject order only governed roadway extension work and had nothing to do with the lots. You guys will recall issuing a partial COC for 150 Flagship under this same order, releasing that lot. I had confirmed at that time with the town DPW that the roadway extension is under the town's jurisdiction, and DPW would be responsible for obtaining a full and complete COC for the road. So these are just, I think the lots are getting caught up in title exams. So they're looking to ask for a partial certificate of compliance releasing 165 flagship from this old order, which governed a roadway.
Okay, thank you. Brian,
No questions.
Jack?
Yeah, assuming it's been reviewed and the roadway is fully compliant, I have no questions other than that.
Okay. Al?
No questions.
Joe?
We have the same question as a matter of being consistent. So long as those, the lot on 165 in itself is fully compliant, we wouldn't deny a partial on the subdivision. So do we know what the individual, is there any resource area at 165 itself? And if there is the work compliant?
I think for this, the lots weren't shown on the roadway plan. So, I mean, maybe the outlines were, but not like proposed buildings and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
So maybe I'm not asking the question the right way. So the subdivision is for the roadway layout itself, and it's, years and years have gone down to extend it, and it's now accepted by the town, and the town ultimately has responsibility for COC.
Right.
So this particular address, 165, is asking for a partial, just like the last discussion we just had. If the individual lot also has resource areas that ought to have had certain permits in place before they did things on that lot, are they in fact compliant? Because they think the same holds true. Do we have an issue of a non-compliant lot that's seeking relief from a partial for the overall subdivision when they themselves are non-compliant? That's my question.
Well, the lot does have resource on it. And I didn't find, well, I can't say that. There's an RDA on it for installing a PVC conduit from the existing CAT TV vault along the flagship for a distance of 396 feet. But
Has it been signed off on?
that was
RDA?
that particular RDA. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Because if it's an outstanding order, we can't even act on the COC.
Well, we can't act on that particular COC if there were one, but on the partial, it just seems to be consistent with what we just talked about on Colonial. If that particular address has improvements that are non-compliance, why should we even considering a partial for the overall, I'm going to call it subdivision, but the overall roadway layout work? It just being consistent with the very last hearing we just had.
All right, then we should just continue, and give Amy direction on what you just asked for, Joe. Show the lot.
Yeah, in this one, it seems like we had an RDA, so we have some prior documentation, and if they built additions or built driveways or parking areas or other things that ought to have had a permit, then they themselves aren't compliant. They shouldn't get a partial. So yeah, they should have a little more research they need to do before requesting the partial.
Okay, so we need a motion to continue.
Oh, okay. There is a representative on the line with us. I'm not sure if they want to talk or.
Yeah, this is Michael Ashley. I'm a representative for United Realty Trust. There were no other changes made since the initial construction in 1993.
All right, so I guess they're asking to be released from an order that governed the roadway extension. They didn't, the order doesn't govern construction on the lot.
Right,
So-
but didn't 85 Colonial Actually, back in that era,
No,
sub- that
85
lot included the
85
subdivision, the roadway, and the lots, didn't it?
Yes, 85 Colonial, the lots were included in that order. That's why I said that you guys didn't require separate notices of intent for the lots for the Colonial subdivision. It was part of that, the whole thing, the whole subdivision was permitted on that order. And individual lots were shown on the approved plan with house boxes and setbacks. And then you guys were getting as-built plans for each lot to release them partially from that overall order.
I see.
But I think in
I
this,
definitely see the distinction now.
so I think in this case, you know, this 242-590 was strictly for the roadway.
In the order itself, Amy, I went back and researched it, and it said if there was anything that was extended into 165 would be under a separate order of conditions.
Okay. Well, then that solves that issue, Joe. All of this is the roadway in front of that lot.
Yeah, I wasn't making any allegation. I was really just trying to get clarification. You know, is there anything on that individual lot that's non-compliant? But it sounds like it may not even be germane to the discussion.
I don't think it is, not for this particular order of conditions.
Okay. Sean, do you have any questions? Is Sean still on the air?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep, no questions.
Okay. Tony?
No questions.
All right. So, need a motion for the partial COC for 165 flagship, just the roadway.
No, just a lot.
Just a lot.
Oh, just a lot. I'm sorry.
Just a lot.
Just a lot.
Just a lot. Okay.
So which file number covers just the lot?
Both do, right?
590
No.
and 843 both cover just the lot?
590 covers the roadway only, roadway
Okay.
extension only.
That's what I thought. I thought I was dreaming. I thought that's what you said to me.
So
Right.
you're looking for, so are they looking for a partial from 843? Is that the correct?
No,
590
Okay.
for the roadway.
590 is the roadway, so they want to get released partially from, they want a partial CMC to get released from the roadway order, which is 590.
Okay,
Which
I'll
is
move
not-
that.
which is-
I'll
which
move
is now-
it.
That's for the town. All right, we have a
Guys.
motion.
Yes.
I'll second that.
I'll
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I
Opposed, and that's unanimous. All right, now the next one, 242-843, 165 Flagship Drive. Now, this is for the property, Amy?
Yeah, so this is for the property. It was an order issued in 1996, and it governed a proposed 19,000 square foot addition to the building at 165 Flagship. The project was never undertaken. The order has expired and is null and void, so they're just looking to clean it up.
So what should the motion be on that then? It's not a
It should-
motion to comply.
It should be to issue a certificate of compliance that indicates the order has expired, is null and void, and the project never took place.
Okay,
There's
that's my
actually-
motion.
there's a
That's my motion.
Check back on the box on certificate of compliance for exactly
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Okay,
One of
that's
those.
my motion. I make it.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your help, Amy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a whole bunch here just to get through it. 242-1692. Enforcement order and an amendment and a, this is request to see road. I'm not gonna hold off on that. Those two numbers, a request to continue till February 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and then unanimous. And then, not just they requested this, 242 erosion control, reporting, they request to continue to, February 22nd.
Say that again?
They would,
Under general
Princeton
business.
Properties request to cease erosion control reporting on the residential side of the site, and they request to continue to February 22nd.
Motion to continue.
Okay, yes.
Yes, I
Second.
just offered it. Motion to
Second.
continue.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous.
All right.
The next one is, I have no idea what this is. Meadow Fish Place, potential CPC application.
I know what that is.
Oh, is that
All
you?
right.
Do we
It's,
have a recusal?
yeah, so Al will recuse for this. So the owners, Al and Catherine Manzi, are looking to sell a property to the town, and the commission will recall it's a 9.6 acre vacant mowed field, woodland, and wetlands property that contains approximately 2,000 feet of frontage along Mosquito Brook and associated riverfront area. Access is gained off of Lancaster Subdivision Roadway via a freshly maintained right-of-way, which is known as Old Wildcat or Purgatory Lane. He, under an RDA for agriculture exemptions, he cleared encroaching vegetation, installed packed gravel that allows for comfortable travel for the owner's farm equipment and haying equipment to get to the field. So this property fulfills a number of criteria in the open space plan, expanding conservation lands and protecting and enhancing habitats for biodiversity, links to open space and other trails, and protection of scenic landscapes and farmland. Greenbelt property is adjacent to it, separated by the Wildcat Purgatory Way. So the town manager has given me the green light to obtain an appraisal in preparation of submitting a potential CPC application for their February 2nd deadline. I am in contact with Greenbelt and made contact about for them holding the conservation restriction. The town manager asked if the Concom would be willing to support the application and actually be the applicant on behalf of the town.
Okay.
So that's my blurb.
Okay. Ryan, any questions?
No questions other than I wonder if I could get a tour of this property sometime. I'm not too far down the road. I'd like to check it out. But other than that, my only comment is, given the owners, I think we should look into the property pretty closely, make sure nothing illicit's going on.
Just, you're going to have to make believe you don't see the still. Other than that, you'll be okay.
Well, after a few drinks, I can make believe anything.
Jack?
Yeah, the conservation values for this property are very clear. 10 acres, adjacent to farmland. It contains a good amount of Mosquito Brook, a river in town, contiguous with Greenbelt. Potential for, trail enhancements are all values that we support consistently in this commission, and I think it's a good one for us. I would support, representing the town via the Conservation Commission in support of this project.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with Jack. It's a perfect spot. It checks all the boxes. I'd have no problem endorsing this potential application. Joe?
So I'm actually just proud to support this. It's a wonderful thing. We all talk the talk every other week at these meetings. We support the things that the commission does. We all understand what's important, but here's my fellow commissioner and his family putting up a really sacred interest in piece of land for our community. And, you know, it's got nothing to do about who he is. It's just a great thing that we would expect many homeowners to try to do. And boy, it's a wonderful thing. Wholeheartedly support it.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, well
Sean?
said.
I'm in support of it as well, for all the reasons everybody's already mentioned. And I won't go into any more details about the applicant at this time. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. Tony?
I think people into a wire. You know, if everyone said checks off the boxes, Sonic, we need a open space. So I'm in full support.
Thank you. So I'm voting now. Amy, you can tell it's an open endorsement, so.
Okay. I just feel good when you guys vote. So can you just take a vote to support the application?
You want me to vote?
And
you know
be the
it's gonna
face
be
of it.
unanimous. Motion to endorse the purchase of metal fish plates. Say aye.
Actually, there's two things, Amy, you need, right? You need us to, one, support this endeavor, and two, to authorize the Conservation Department to act on behalf as the applicant
Yep.
in
Yes.
filing CPC application.
Yep.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous.
And
One
aye.
abstention.
No, one recusal.
One recusal, that's even better.
Okay.
Okay. Last but not least.
Can we?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I want to make sure 40 Flagship. I think you guys probably want to continue that tonight.
Oh, I didn't see that, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well,
But I'd like to have just a quick discussion on that. We talked, Amy and I talked about this several times. I think I've talked to some of you. We have this kind of like, it's like a double-edged sword. They violated wetlands on the bottom of the street to a butter. And they were reluctant to fix that. So I think we should issue an enforcement order for that, to get them to clean it up. And I think we should also issue an enforcement order to the landowner to make sure it gets done. And the other piece of the puzzle, the open construction site, we I don't know if you all know, we lost to the magistrate on the fine, but I think we should start reissuing fines until the NOI is received. This has been going on for several years now, and I think we should start all over again. And maybe if we go in front of the clerk for a second time, he'll listen to us.
can I just chime in on that?
Sure.
So I think fining should be tied to the actual violation in the wetland, not NOI for the site. What I might propose is if I draft up the enforcement orders, new enforcement orders, one for the site where it says cease and desist until you file a notice of intent, period, and let him do that whenever. And the second would be to the violator and the downstream property owners where the actual impact is requiring restoration, restoration plan and such. So that's my recommendation. And I think I'd rather craft something for you guys to review and vote on instead of us trying to muddle through some, two enforcement orders right now.
Okay, so you're saying just issue an enforcement order to the landowner at the bottom of the street? And issue.
And the violator.
And
Both.
the violator.
Both.
Good. and then up top, you said you wanted to issue an enforcement order until they issue their NOI.
Right, cease and desist until they get an order of conditions.
Perfect.
So I can, let me draft that, if that's okay with you guys, let me draft that up and I'll, we can consider it at, another meeting.
Okay. I'd like to get it done sooner than later, because, it would give me great pleasure to start the fine sooner than later.
Amy, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry,
go
Lou, when you're done.
Go ahead, Jack.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that the first enforcement order is going to reference the, I guess, contamination
Yes,
of the silted stormwater that has gone downstream and impacted other property owners.
yes.
Yes, good. That's, to me, that's the most important thing.
Right. Ryan, do you have any input?
Nope, I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Al?
No, nothing to add.
Joe?
Yeah, I probably don't have anything to add either. I mean, I'm kind of curious. The downstream landowner who's obviously impacted by that, do we have a feel at all of whether they take this as a serious thing that's affected their land? Do we have any feedback at all of what they think about this?
I haven't really had too much conversation with them. He has reached out about some sort of a drainage issue. And I said, well, I think, I can't really speak to your drainage issue, but if there's modifications you need to make on the site, then you'd have to come forward with a separate application for that. So.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is, I think maybe it's where the conversation is going is, if we issue a violation notice to the downstream landowner, they'd be able to have a heightened level of awareness of just how serious this is, and maybe he's motivated to deal with the guy that won't listen to us.
Right.
But if he takes it to a different court and takes it as a civil matter, maybe we'll get the end result that we want. I think we do, in fact, issue a violation notice to the downstream landowner who is a victim themselves, but nonetheless, they're in violation. Their property's in violation, and put them on notice.
Right.
Sean?
Little unorthodox, but I think it's, under the circumstances, it's appropriate.
Sorry, I didn't know you weren't done. Sean?
No questions, Lou.
Tony?
You're muted. Oh, yeah.
No,
No.
no questions. I think just, maybe you're looking to kind of grab something and table this matter until we meet in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's the right course, so.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so I'm sorry I passed over that, but
That's all right. So just a motion to continue.
I need a motion to continue.
Move to continue.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. All right, decision time.
Yep.
Decision time.
So
What?
we have two.
242. To what? 242-1860, 290, Stevens Street. Oh, yeah, you got North Ramp Road. Okay.
Yep. Want to do Stevens first?
Let's do Stevens Street, yeah. It's pretty straightforward anyway.
Amy, what's jumping out at me is, did we talk about, I know we talked about something with the easement, and maybe documenting of validating the easement on that property for drainage. There's a pipe, clearly
Yep.
it's town pipe across this property. It doesn't affect their project, but I thought we were gonna get an easement to allow that pipe to continue to be there.
Yes, you're right. So would that be something like prior to a certificate of compliance that the applicant would seek an easement with the town? Or have one in place, or?
I mean, I think, structurally, that's what I'm aiming towards, and I think at conclusion of the project is a good deadline. I think we probably have to come up with better language of how that actually happens.
Right.
That wouldn't be prior, wouldn't be prior to construction?
No, I think that's too aggressive.
Okay.
Well, this thing's probably been there 80 years, maybe 60 years. And,
absolutely.
I think we just want to clean it up.
Joe, it's been there more than 60.
I was going back to Buddy Sear era. That's why it could be 70.
No, it's not Buddy Sear era. It's Ira Cardi's era.
That's right. You said that earlier. I'm sorry. It is older. You're right. I'm just saying this is an opportunity to fix it. It doesn't affect their project at all. We probably want to document that it's there, and I think doing it prior to construction is a little too aggressive.
I know Greg agreed to it, so I don't know why he missed it.
Yeah, sorry about that.
But I don't. I agree with you. I think it should be post construction. You just won't get a COC unless it's looked at. I don't even think they know where it is. So that it's there. But they might just say it's a dead pipe or dead issue, or I don't even know if it functions anymore.
Oh, it does. Oh, yeah, that comes up from the other side of the I think Pleasant Street, and picks up the brook coming down behind Jerry's house, Jerry's driveway.
Yeah, but I think I thought they did a pipe on Stevens Street a while ago when they put all them swales in. I thought they put a drainage pipe that goes all the way to Pleasant Street and then goes down into Stevie's Pond. They went around it.
But I think the brook that comes down off the hill behind Kittredge, I think that brook does get into that pipe and flow straight to the pond.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
All right. Well, then that I have to look into it, but I would definitely make it post construction.
Yeah.
That seems fair. And Greg did it. He acknowledged that.
Right.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. Okay, so prior to issuance of a COC, the applicant shall secure an executed easement agreement with the town for the pipe and a copy provided for the Conservation Commission, or
yes, evidence.
Correct.
Evidence that needs to be provided.
Okay. All right.
And we have counsel on staff now, right?
Yes.
That's not a hard thing to do. We're not asking the applicant to do it. We're asking the applicant to sign it.
Yeah. Just right. Okay. All right.
On condition 48, Amy.
Yep. Yeah.
3,000 is kind of our. It's been a pretty consistent bond for a new family house, but they're demolishing one and putting a new one in, right?
Yes.
So maybe we should. I mean, not to penalize the applicant, but maybe it makes sense where they're doing more work.
Yeah.
To maybe make that 5,000.
Okay.
Thoughts?
I agree with that.
I agree. I think with today's inflation, 3,000 is like the 1980s.
I agree.
Well, we have a $2,500 minimum payment that you and I instituted, so, to go to 5 is fine.
Yep, okay.
There was some discussion on dewatering. Greg thought the soils, not thought, it gets to make really
we
good.
We did. I told him we wanted to.
Lou, didn't you want to still have a dewatering area set up just in case? Was that
Yes,
the
I
comment?
wanted it installed, and because I said, if you wait till, if you just bring the materials there and you hit water, which I know they're gonna, by the time you set it up, we got a brown sheen on Stevie's pond. Oh,
Yeah, didn't we say
even
that?
the applicant was amicable to it. He agreed.
So that's condition 45, Amy?
45, all dewatering BMPs shall be installed per the approved plan and ready for inspection at the pre-construction meeting. Is that good?
And those are shown on the plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we even said that during the hearing to Mr. Lawler, so.
Yeah, and he was fine with it.
He's aware, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything else on this. Looks good to me.
Yeah, I've got
Okay.
no more.
Yep, I'm all set as well.
Can we have a motion?
A move that we approve the order conditions as drafted and amended.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. And we have, North Andover 242-1787. And I have to recuse myself, so Al, it's all yours.
Okay, it's all Amy's. Go, Amy.
Let me pull it up.
That's the buck.
Thanks a lot.
Always let the expert handle this stuff, Lou.
Oh, I love how you call me an expert.
Expert.
Makes me laugh.
That's why you make the big bucks.
Yeah, right. All right, let's see. Okay. All right.
We starting in the yellow, Amy?
Yeah, starting in the yellow. So obviously the first sections are just sort of site location, site development and use history. I kind of go through what we know in terms of how it came on our radar.
Yeah.
How staff was dealing with looking at wetland lines and approving work outside the jurisdiction without any formal applications to us. How eventually DEP caught up with their notice of non-compliance in February of 2014, requiring that, since they were in jurisdiction now, that they obtain order conditions from us. We have no previous formal permitting for the property. Jurisdictional resources, BBW, buffer zone. Just procedural history with the notice of intent itself. Kind of walking through the first peer review with the LSP and the borings and the findings.
So the borings and the findings and the test wells, that was something that I felt should be, should be extended in perpetuity, or as long as legally can be. I think that's real important that the test wells continue to be tested. They remain intact and continue to be tested.
Mm-hmm.
However long we can. Is there a statutory time limit on them? Or a regulatory time limit?
Not by statute. Wait, you just laid down the preamble, right? Finding of facts?
Yeah. Yep.
So you're getting to specificity like perpetual conditions. That's not where you were going yet, right?
Not quite
Okay,
yet.
I jumped in too soon. Okay, go ahead.
That's okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. And just about our third-party stormwater review.
Yep.
And then just, our vote tonight, hopefully. And then a description of the project. Just explaining that we're tiring portions of the site that receive post-consumer crushed glass by way of regrading areas on site, installing recycled asphalt on certain sections of the site, and loaming, seeding, blanketing the peninsula section of the site, and installing a chain link fence to separate the wrap and the seeded sections. Proposed stormwater system consists of deep sump catch basins, subsurface infiltration galleries, storm scepters, and rehab of an existing surface basin. I could be more eloquent with that one, but
Within that paragraph, should we be very specific and no more import of material shall be permitted in that area?
yeah.
Yeah, I think that should be very much spelled out. That there should be an outright prohibition.
Okay.
Those are the things that we allow to be done. And by the way, you're not bringing anything else in there.
Got it. Yep.
Said that.
Okay.
I think when we get to it, the bond is low.
Okay. So I just have to fill in all the approved documents. I just didn't have time to go through every single piece of paper and write it down.
Okay.
Please skip into. Okay, so condition
Kevin,
30. Go ahead.
Yeah, the applicant is the Lawrence Airport Commission. They're the landowner and the applicant?
No. So the applicant is Positive Start Realty.
Yep.
The DeRoses. The property owner is Lawrence Municipal Airport.
Okay.
So when we speak to bond, we need to segregate, who's responsible for what?
Mhm.
Or is it simply applied that's the applicant that's responsible? I think
I think we don't care. I think that the bond has to cover everybody.
okay.
We can't get into defining who and what and breaking it down. Just set the bond, and the parties, whoever's listed on here as the parties, are responsible, and they can do the math. That's what I think, anyway.
No, I agree. Let them duke it out. We just simply require the bond be placed.
Yeah, this is the number you guys figured out. But I think the number's too low in condition 38. I would double that. Because there's so much that can go wrong, and it would be irreparable when and if it did.
So, what is being done right now on the steep slope on the side of the wetlands?
They're leaving it.
Proposal to leave it as it is.
They're leaving it as it is.
The natural vegetation has taken hold and just leave it be.
Well, it's going to be capped with loam and seed.
At the top.
What can be capped will be capped, and what can't be capped will be just left to, whatever happens.
And there's a perimeter berm being built and also going to be stabilized, with lumen seed.
Yep.
Right.
And there's a fence, and then the construction and operation of the infiltration system.
Yep.
And so that's pretty basic stuff. So the 20,000 more than covers that. Where I think Al's going, tell me if I'm wrong, is that we are going to require an annual report of how the stormwater system is working and what you did to maintain that infiltration pond. And from time to time, there may be a need to sample the wells, the monitoring wells.
I think so.
Yeah, so I hate to say it. I mean, I think 20,000 is not crazy out of line, Yeah, I think 50 years.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the
Doubling
thing.
it to 40, it's not unreasonable.
Consider this too. You know, during the initial construction and transition of activities, there's that oops factor that always is out there, and I think that's what I'm thinking of right now when I think of the bond. Is I'm thinking of all of a sudden, oops, I didn't know I couldn't do that. Oh well, and that's the kind of stuff I worry about. I keep thinking of that big giant bulldozer over at North Andover Estates 30 years ago, and anything can happen. If it can happen, it will.
That's why I was trying to distinguish between the work on the slope and no work on the slope, because I think that's where our vulnerability is. That's where the oops could occur. Everything else is up on the flat surface, and little opportunity for oops other than an outright violation.
So when they get everything all in place and they get it all stabilized, they can always ask for a reduction. But I think in the interim, early phases of it, I think that we got to have the ability to fix it if something goes wrong.
So I'm not sure if we're far or not apart or not. I'm saying doubling it to 40 would be on the high side of reasonable, but I'm saying it probably should be closer to 40, but not much more than that.
Okay, that would be my. I'm fine with 40.
Okay, there we go.
40?
40.
Okay. Okay.
And then the condition 40, services of a licensed site professional. We want to have some oversight as to who that is. We want to be able to approve or disapprove.
Yep.
Whether it's a LSP or whether it's a wetland scientist doing monitoring, we want to be able to if we have a party that we have a history with that we know that doesn't perform to the standards, we can disapprove them. On the outside chance that happens, I doubt that it will, but just we should be prepared.
They'll probably use Randy.
I'm not, again, I'm not saying Randy's obviously acceptable. Randy's been at the airport for years, and if it's Randy, that's fine. But you never know.
Right.
We could get someone else.
What were you thinking, Amy? Once per year reporting?
Yeah.
How about once every 6 months? Once a year is a long time.
Well, first of all, what are we asking them to report on?
Perform sampling and monitoring of the groundwater monitoring wells.
And erosion controls and things like that?
Well, no, I was thinking more LSP for groundwater monitoring wells.
Stormwater and groundwater?
More
or just groundwater?
Well, actually, there is a well proposed in the rehabbed surface basin, so that would be part of it too.
Yes, right. The basin needs to be
Right.
part of it.
Okay.
That's where I was going to go. Is it seems like we've already tested the lower strata. I apologize. I had to go get my third phone before the battery died.
Unbelievable. Unreal.
Yeah, I don't think we're doing monitoring wells unless we find something elsewhere. So I think periodically, maybe every 6 months, a grab sample is obtained out of the detention basin before it's infiltrated. It's tested for, we can define the elements.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on those findings, it may require them to get into the monitoring wells to see if anything migrated down into the lower horizons. I think we need to spell that out.
Okay.
I think you need the wells though, Joe, don't you? Because that's kind of what is actually exiting the site and going into the groundwater. Isn't that the direct measurement of pollution, potential pollution?
I think that's a good idea.
I guess my point is just simply approving an LSP is just a piece of it. I think we need to tell them what it is we want the LSP to be doing.
Well, I
how
think
often they should be doing it, and based on that, do we have any confidence in the firm that's doing it?
Well,
and you hear that last statement I just made, I say that with a little uneasiness because who the hell are we to tell what an LSP should or shouldn't be doing? I know where Al's coming from. There are some folks that have come before our commission that we don't believe a word
Joe,
they say.
Joe, I may not be qualified to judge an LSP per se, but I know incompetence when I see it, regardless of the qualifications and degrees hanging on the wall. When I see incompetence, I can recognize it. So I think that's where I'm going. But to your question,
I'm just looking for defendability and making this thing appeal proof. So
sure.
I want to make sure that we do that too.
Sure, and to go with what you were just talking about with duties and responsibilities, I think what we had initial water tests being made. We have a baseline. Am I correct? Was baseline sampling? So since we have a baseline, we should have testing done periodically, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, a year, to compare it against the baseline to see what's happening. I just think that's the kind of science that we should truly be interested in, especially on this site where we don't have a clue really what's, aside for our borings, we really don't know what's down there. And
that goes right to Jack's point, is that right now nothing's being infiltrated other than what collects on the surface and moves its way through the horizons.
Sure.
Once we deliberately infiltrate it, that's what's going to show up in the wells right away.
Sure.
And I think that.
So that would be a good idea to read those wells and compare them against our baseline.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yes.
If we
6 months?
If we close this hearing, right? So we have 21 days?
Yep.
Why don't we take the same line of questioning that we're going down now and talk to Mike Saboulos and have him draft up what we think to be a reasonable frequency of sampling and analysis, and what should we be looking for, and what sort of reports should we get, and get that right into the order conditions.
I like it.
Because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, other than it seems like it's very vague, and we need to be pretty specific.
Brilliant.
Okay.
So the meeting is closed. Can I say something?
No, we're still deliberating.
We're actually deliberating, and you really shouldn't. In order for your own safety, you really shouldn't speak.
Louis, we've come this far. Don't screw it up.
No. I'm just saying we had.
Louis, you can't. Louis, don't do it. The meeting's not closed. We're on the record, and you're recused. You really don't do it, buddy.
Yeah, we've come a long way, and we've done it right. So let's keep it that way.
Yeah, you talk about food for an appeal.
Sorry.
Okay.
We can talk after we vote.
When everything's closed, we can talk then. You can't do it now. I mean, that's just the kind of stuff the Attorney General eats up.
Yeah, it just sucks. I got a memory like a vault, and I remember things, and I can't say anything. Okay.
Write it down. Just write it down. Write it down. Don't say it.
Okay.
All right, attaboy.
So, Amy, you've got a few green highlighted spots. We want to resolve those now, right?
Yeah, I just so the 100% construction drawings, if produced. I mean, I don't know if something like this would go to that next advanced plan development stage, and I guess I would rely on the engineers on the Concom to answer that. I don't know.
So
No, I'm not sure.
I guess your question is the latest plan that's before us, if somebody, whether it's the city of Lawrence or the applicant themselves, if they were to hire a contractor, could they build it from those drawings? If that's the case, these are the 100% construction drawings that we're talking about.
Right.
From what I've seen, I think they can be used for a private sector type of procurement.
Mhm.
If DeRosa or the applicant weren't to move forward on this and the airport commission would have to pick it up,
Mhm.
it would be a far more robust
Mm.
document. It would be plans and specifications, and
Yeah.
so I guess we got to get ourselves comfortable with who's responsible for carrying this up. I mean, when you get right down to it, every application we hear, that last set of drawings that's before us are supposed to be the construction drawings.
Yeah. Which never happens.
Of course it, right?
Well, I guess leaving if produced makes sense. Right? I'll leave that in.
I'd phrase it differently.
I would say it differently. I would say that any deviation from the approved drawings submitted as part of this application requires appearance before the commission to determine whether an amendment is necessary or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, no deviation, no matter how small, is permitted.
Okay.
There's no discretion. This is not a discretionary order.
Okay, so I would say any deviation from the approved plan set under this order, and I could put in parentheses, which may include 100% construction drawings. How's that? Just
including but not limited to.
okay.
I would maybe call it additional construction details, because that's really all that's going to come in after this. I think.
I would
What do you think,
so
Joe?
too. But
yeah.
I think, Jack, what everybody's trying to prevent is, or trying to say is, hey, look, if there's any deviation of any kind, you don't have the authority to proceed. You have to come to make notice to us immediately.
True.
That's what we're trying to say in so many words. I think.
Right.
I think anyway.
But yeah.
So if there's a better way to say it, by all means do it. But just say, hey, listen, you don't have the authority to deviate, and if you do, it requires notice, immediate cease and desist and notice to the commission.
Yep.
How many acres?
That's the oops factor I keep talking about. You know.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess the other question I had is whether I think, I'm not sure, would a stormwater pollution prevention plan be required for this?
I was just going to go right to that. Take off the if required.
Yeah.
Okay.
And say as may be required.
Okay. Got it.
Agreed.
Perfect.
Agreed.
Okay. Alrighty.
Stormwater construction general permit 2012. That's outdated. It's a new one issued last March.
Okay.
2022.
22. All right.
Or may be as amended in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, in case you leave it wide open, if a newer,
Yay.
more robust permit comes out. The erosion controls, Amy, these are top of slope?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how it's shown in the plan. Yeah.
Yep.
So, I'm looking at subpart 42F. That's existing and proposed catch basins.
Mm-hmm.
So my recollection is they're proposing a couple of double catch basins up in the wrap area,
Yep.
which is right in the truck traffic area.
Mhm.
So it's not paved, so those are gonna be susceptible. So we wanna see that those basins are properly protected with deep sump and probably hoods to keep the TSS out, and that those basins be cleaned. Those basins never be more than, the sumps never be more than 75% full before they're cleaned. So then, I say that so generally because, I mean, typically you clean a basin once every 3 years, it's probably okay. You know, once every year is great, but on a wrap site with a lot of truck traffic and a lot of stuff that can get in there, your first line of defense needs to be kept clean. So those, we got to kind of fortify that F statement. Maybe I can take a shot at it and get language to you. But I think we want to say something as a performance standard, is that the sumps never be more than 75% full, and that they be cleaned, and that evidence of cleaning at that frequency would be submitted to the commission for its record. Let me clean that up and give you something tomorrow.
Okay.
I agree with that, Joe. It's a good idea. Awful lot of yellow here, Amy.
Sorry. I think
The application's been open 2.5 years.
I think it warrants it.
Longer than that.
Yeah, well,
It's not an easy one.
thanks
I
to the
know.
hard work by DEP, you know, we can
Yeah.
thank them for all their hard work.
I don't take any pride in carrying their pail of water.
Dude, I got to tell you, I mean, if ever there were actual hard evidence of an agency that's a farce, this is it right here.
I think we have a better example of that, except we won't go into it now.
Yeah, not now, not now. Save us so that we have something to talk about next time.
There you go.
All right, where are we at? Are we?
I'm just reading down
Where everybody is.
Yeah, a lot of spoiler free. You know, that 42J, the point about trash, it's just going to blow right off that hillside, whatever goes up there. But geez, that's why I thought we had the fence around the whole place. It's going to go all over the place.
Well,
it is what it is.
Where are you talking about now? I see this. I see the paragraph, but where is the trash?
Well, you're going to have activity in the area, and you've got that high, and you've got that high flat.
On the left side of the fence, the activity is going to be on the left side of the fence as trucks pull into the building. There shouldn't be any activity on the right side of the fence, which is the area being restored and cordoned off, if you will.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think so.
Let's hope it works out that way.
I mean, I think Jack's point is, tell me if I'm wrong, is that airborne trash is just going to be a fact out in that neighborhood. Yeah, not just from this site, but neighboring sites as well.
I was going to say, you got the Thompson brothers down the bottom of the hill, and you get these guys at the top of the hill. So yeah, there's all the potential in the world for stuff to be flying around. I agree.
It's just a launching pad for wind-blown trash off that plateau, that peninsula. But I'm not going to. We can't redesign the project, so let's move on.
No, that's not our responsibility.
Yep.
If too much trash gets into the wetland, then we can order a cleanup. But we would have to be reactive there.
Done with 42?
Yeah.
Done.
Looking at 57, Amy, it's kind of written ass backwards. Plant set for non-native seed mix, which will be prohibited. Shouldn't we really tell them, or they should be telling us what they're going to do? Or I simply say, submit to us for approval your proposed seed mix, which must comply with, and then get it that way. That whole first sentence kind of upside down.
We should approve it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should submit a plan for seeding, any seeding and planting and anything like that. They should give us a plan.
I would,
Tell us
I would
what.
just, I would just strike the first sentence. The rest of the paragraph's fine.
But it does call for a non-native seed mix. I want to make sure that they realize that. And
So that don't say which will be prohibited. That the plan set calls for a non-native seed mix, which is hereby denied.
okay,
The applicant shall propose seeding which ensures, et cetera, et cetera. The rest of that paragraph will be fine.
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Okay. Okay.
These are just grass, meadow seed, right?
Yep. Yep.
It's good that you put this attention into it because that's a steep slope, and this grass thriving is very important.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And obviously, there's no snow stockpiling over in that restored side, right?
Oh yeah. Let me do that as a post-construction.
Wait, can you go to 59
Mm-hmm.
and under the supervision of a qualified wetland scientist, comma, to be approved by the commission?
Okay.
Again, for obvious reasons.
Where is the restoration? Is that up adjacent to the gate?
Oh well. Let's see.
Any resource here is being restored.
I should say
It's that
seeded areas.
It's that old basin, right? That old
No,
it's that old basin.
well, it's the seeded areas on the peninsula.
okay.
That's really what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Because the
So
basin,
that's not wetland restoration. That's just simply turf restoration.
yeah, it's like a meadow.
Actually, you address it in 61.
Yeah.
No, that's different too.
Is that different?
So up in going back up to 59. So we're talking about the peninsula where they're going to be planting the grass.
Yeah.
And we're going to approve the seed mixture ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then we want that to be monitored for 2 growing seasons. I would simply say by a turf management specialist, not a wetland scientist.
Okay.
Because it's not a wetland.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's meant to
Yeah,
it's meant to be
true.
it's
No,
meant to
you're
be
right.
a heavy
Yeah.
grassy meadow to hold everything in place. It's meant to be like an anchor.
Yep. Good catch. That's yep.
It's gonna have to be a species that has a heavy root system that'll take hold and not move.
No mowing.
No, I was just going to go there actually in a different direction.
I think we want them. I think we want it
Okay.
mowed.
I think we want to mow it. And
Yeah.
I think my brain was going to, so there's a gate in the fence.
Yes.
We got to be clear of what's allowed to pass through that gate. The use of that gate is for vehicular access to monitoring wells and collection of samples. It's for mowing, and it's for maintenance of the stormwater management area. There'll be no motor vehicle traffic on that area or through that gate for any other purpose. Not sure where that fits in. Not sure where that fits in here, but I think it's a potential condition.
That's right. That's right. I agree with you. And the only place that's going to be on the left side of the fence is going to be that little stormwater pond that's being rebuilt. That little stormwater structure.
Yeah.
that I called a muddy pond.
So Louis, I think you do want to mow it, because if you don't, you're going to get, a lot of dying off turf, and, with the wrong selection of species, you're going to just end up choking itself out. You really kind of want to mow it periodically at the right time of year. Depending on what they plant out there, maybe in fact we're creating habitat, and we might want to mow it in middle of the summer or early fall.
If they wait till if they don't cut it before the 1st of August, they're fine. Anything that may nest there will be up and done by then.
So I think condition 61 kind of gets to that point. And I think we want the Airport Commission to tell us what the vegetation management plan should be for this area.
Mm-hmm.
And then they should carry it out and adhere to it.
Great idea.
And the plan should be subject to our approval.
Subject, good point, Jack.
Subject to.
It should be subject to the airport's approval too, because they have height requirements.
Was that Jack?
Yeah.
Are you getting lost,
And in
Jack?
fact, they need to mow it, because otherwise the woody vegetation is going to take over, and then they got a whole other set of problems.
Right. Yep. Okay.
So that would, what you're talking about is FAA Part 7, which deals to horizons and heights of trees, and it's anything that's within 500 feet from the center line of the active runway is jurisdictional to Part 7. If it's more than 500 feet from the center line of an active runway, it doesn't matter. And then until it reaches a certain height, then it kicks in again, like those old chimneys from the old mills and places like that had to have flashing red lights on them. But that Part 7's pretty interesting. That covers all that stuff.
Amazing the stuff you learn.
Well, if you work at an airport long enough, you've got to pick up something.
True. That's right.
you gotta pick up something, or you're just like the Walking Dead,
So condition 62 kind of dances right back to the LSP question. We don't want just any third party to test material. We're concerned with what's in there, what's been collected, and I think we need to define that. So defer 62 back to Mike Saboulos again.
Yep.
Nice. Yep.
Yep.
We'll keep Mike working.
He's our guy.
Right. Well, when you find the right one, you know what I mean. You gotta.
Condition 64.
Yeah.
Now, I see a lot of deleterious materials and bricks and lumber, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I see loam, but I don't hear anything about jumping worms. Are we concerned about jumping worms?
Oh, geez. Yes, we are.
We all got educated on jumping worms.
Oh, boy.
Let's get Taylor on it.
I know. That's got to be a
So
condition. You're right. Okay, I'll add language to that effect.
I was actually kidding, but okay, thank you.
So 64 is a good one.
That's, what does that one say?
65 is very appropriate, considering the amount of equipment that's operating up there.
I think 67 needs to be rewritten, since, kind of a little ridiculous when we have pavement, but we actually have wrap roadways and driveways throughout the entire site. So, great to sweep the pavement, but don't worry about the wrap running off. I think we want to say that all roadways, driveways, and travelways shall be maintained in compliance with the SWIP and directed by an erosion control monitor, et cetera, et cetera. The SWIP is going to tell them what they need to do to prevent that runoff.
Yeah, okay.
So with an ongoing, again, I guess I don't know if it's going to be an ongoing operation, but assuming it's going to be an ongoing operation, do we ever see them coming in for certificate of compliance?
Well, I do. I see the airport coming in for it.
Okay. So 73 is.
They've been real good, because they've been real good about that stuff. I see them coming in. I see them following it up.
Yeah, but I don't have a good feeling about the recent changes at the helm over there.
Oh no, I disagree. I think I think we're going to be good.
Okay.
So you're saying, you're talking about the, no discharge of fuel or stuff like that? Which one are you talking?
How about 73 is fine. I was talking about, will they really get a certificate of compliance with an ongoing operation? I suppose once they do all the work under the permit and they continue to operate outside the fence, I guess they just need to, that's a continuing operation that needs to stay in compliance. Once they do the work, they can get a certificate of compliance.
Like one of the things, for example, that upper roadway, we have no intention of letting them pave that, right?
Right.
Or do we?
Yeah, I didn't think so, but
I mean, that would require a permit.
yeah.
Because it would be.
I think initially we were talking about that, but they just weren't going to do that. As far as controlling, siltation, migration, and erosion, you probably do want to pave that in the longer run. They just didn't want to.
That would require.
Speaks right to the vulnerability of the catch basins and why you don't sweep it. I think in the longer run, you probably want to do that. So, if they came in and wanted to do it, we'd consider it on its own merits when the application came in.
That would change the stormwater.
Excuse me. Sorry.
It would change the stormwater since the driveway is currently pervious. And that's a pervious driveway.
There is pavement underneath there. They put the wrap on top.
Okay. Well, then I guess we'll jump off that bridge when we get to it as well.
Yeah, I know there's pavement there.
That Jack again? His voice is getting hoarse.
I'm not gonna ask that speaker his basis of knowledge, and I'm gonna remind everybody that we're still open. We're not closed.
Yeah.
All parties that all parties that shouldn't be talking. Not yet.
It's the voice from the woods.
Oh, bro. All right. How are we doing? Are we close to the end, Amy?
Yeah, what else?
We're getting there. But again, we're not going to. We still want input from Mike Sabulis, right, on some things.
Right.
Before we finalize this thing.
So we'll continue this till the next meeting.
All right, and I'm really hoping we have a quorum for the next meeting.
I will definitely be there.
We'll have one. We'll have a quorum.
Yeah, I will be as well.
I also.
I hope Sean will.
I don't know.
No worries. Sean will be there.
Oh, we'll just.
Sean, if you're traveling, can you sometimes remote in at night if that's the case?
Probably not. So when is our next meeting?
February 8th.
February 8th. I should be able to make that meeting.
Okay,
Outstanding. All right, there it is. Target
All right.
date.
okay.
All right.
All right, so let me clean this up. I will talk to Mike Sabulis, get his input on those conditions, and hopefully we can wrap it up. Well, we need to wrap it up.
You get Mike's input into that, and that's the last piece. Put Mike's input into that, and we're ready to go.
That's right. Okay.
Hey, Amy, I want to thank you right up front here. This was a bear of an application with a lot of different things in it. You made a good shot at it.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, it's been a good learning experience for all of us too.
Oh, yeah.
Because I mean, when's the next time you think you'll ever be doing a site like this?
I know, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Not North Andover.
what are the odds that DEP could screw something up like this twice in the same century?
Sad truth is a high likelihood.
Yeah,
Right.
I know. I get it. All right,
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman, you have the gavel back, and I offer you a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous.
All right.
All right.
Good night, all.